will the clerk please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Christine Brown, City Clerk. Please state for the record if you're present after I call your name. Mayor Moriwaki.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Present.
Councilmember Matthews.
Present.
Councilmember Fantmore Johnson.
Present.
Councilmember Land.
Present.
Councilmember Schneider.
Present.
Councilmember Nelson.
Present.
Thank you.
All present accounted for. Will we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And tonight, the land acknowledgement will be read by Bina Theo. She's a ninth grader at Bainbridge High School. And her mother, Sydney, is here.
Every part of this soul is sacred in the estimation of my people. Every hillside, every valley, every plain and grove has been hollowed out by some sad or happy event in days long vanished. Chief Seattle, 1854. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is within the ancestral territory of the Suquamish people of the clear salt water. Expert fishermen, canoe builders, and basket weavers. The Suquamish people live in harmony with the lands and waterways along Washington's Central Salish Sea, as they have for thousands of years. Here the Suquamish people live and protect the land and waters of their ancestors for future generations, as promised by the Point Elliott Treaty of 1855.
Thank you. Woman, I'm going to hand you this certificate of appreciation. Simply says, thank you. The City of Bainbridge Island thanks Fina Theo for her contribution in reading the Suquamish Land Acknowledgement at the June 16, 2026 City Council meeting. Your words help us honor the richly complex history and continued presence of Indigenous peoples in our community. Thank you for using your voice to help create a more respectful and inclusive city. Signed, Clarence Moriwaki, Bainbridge Mayor. I'd like to invite our colleagues to come down, and we know you're there in spirit. Councilmember Nelson. Okay, tonight, I'd like to recognize a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Mayor Moriwaki. Staff would like to request that we pull item C off of regular business, the development regulations and accompanying staff land capacity analysis memo. It's come to my attention that the information in the memo needs a little bit more work. I apologize for staff's inability to provide you with the level of information that you need to have this conversation, and we're working on it. We'll bring it back to you as soon as it's ready. So appreciate it if you pull that item from the agenda today.
So accept a motion to have tonight's agenda with item C pulled from list.
I move to have the agenda as modified.
A second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please.
Is this a point of order for me?
Yeah.
Is this the time to pull other items from the consent agenda?
No.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? Call the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Looks like that was 6-0. The chair votes aye, 7-0. Thank you very much, council. Anything of conflict of interest to disclose tonight? Councilmember Fantmore Johnson. Ignore Councilmember Fantmore Johnson. So seeing none, now we are open for public comment. A public comment is simply received by the council with no response. Council cannot deliberate on items that are not on the agenda, and the lack of comment is not an endorsement nor denial of the comment. You have 3 minutes to speak, and I'm going to get a list of those. I'll read two names in a row, and will the second person be ready to stand up when the person before you is completed. Help us move it along smoother. Okay. First is Julie Rosenblatt, followed by David Kotz.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for all the work you do for the city. My name is Julie Rosenblatt. I've lived here for 34 years, and I want to talk about parking. It's come out that we have a parking issue here, and I know that people have been talking about TNC's parking. And what my comment is about is that TNC is a private business, and they can choose to enforce or not enforce their own parking rules on their own land. It's not a concern of the city, and there's no market failure to justify intervention. It is certainly not something the city should be attempting to solve by regulating what other landowners are allowed to build. Island Fitness, they have parking issues sometimes on Saturdays when the farmers market happens, and they choose sometimes to regulate their own parking. It's the same thing at the TNC. It's their own business. They can choose to regulate that parking. It's also been called a parking crisis lately. And to say the word crisis versus using it when we talk about a housing crisis, which we do have on the island, a parking crisis seems like the wrong word to use. It's not a crisis if you have to drive around downtown a couple extra times to look for a parking space. There are a lot of other places you can find parking, or you could choose to not drive into town and get there a different way. A housing crisis is a very different thing. To use the word crisis, the housing crisis makes our families are displaced from their communities, workers are unable to live near their jobs, people are forced into houselessness, and it is real and urgent and devastating that this island is not doing something about it. Thank you.
Thank you, David Kotz, followed by Rob Drury.
Hello, I'm David Coates, lifetime island resident. My topic today is actually twofold in support of low-income housing. I appreciate all the council's work to make that happen, and think we need to keep moving forward because it's such an important factor for all the people that work here and some of the people that live here as well already. So also on parking, I had a thought that the area to the south of BPA in the farmers market area, between there and the businesses below, there's about 50 spots there now. If a 3-story garage were built there, and it would allow it to be widened actually, and you could get 75 cars on 3 levels, that would be a huge increase in parking. The Scribners have the lot to the east there. They got about 30 spots there. You could increase that in width as well and do the 3 stories there, and you'd have 360 spots. And that space is just not being used at this time. It also is tucked away. It wouldn't bother much of anyone, I don't think. Potentially could even put low-income housing on top of it at the same time. So I don't know if that's been floated, but I wanted to throw that out there. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you, David. Rob Drury, followed by Sherry Eckert.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for giving me the chance to express myself. I'm speaking tonight to deal with a question that several people who are neighbors of mine or residents on the island have brought to my attention, and I don't really have a good answer, so I thought I would try to get one. It involves the idea that when there's a lot of governmental activity taking place, especially that involves zoning changes, that it has implications for the areas that are rezoned. Sometimes it can, for example, lead to property that's worth a certain amount to be changed to a different amount that it's worth if the zoning changes. And I don't know much about that, but I looked into it a little bit, and it turned out that there's an organization I suspect all of you are aware of called the Public Disclosure Commission in Washington, that anyone that's elected as an official has to fill out a form, an F1 it's called, to talk about any assets and resources and money and so forth that you might have. And so I thought, well, I'll talk to that office and see what they have to say. And I called up their public information officer. Scott Bailey is his name, and he spent some time tearing through his database, and he said it was a very complicated database. So it took him about 15 minutes to get to what I was asking about, but he said he finally got there. And it appeared that there might be some issues with what property is owned by individuals that are members of the council. The question that was put to me by, like I say, some people I know on the island was, is there any issue with conflict of interest there with Councilperson Schneider? And of course, I said, I have no idea. How would I know? But I did make some inquiries to various individuals, including several people on the council, to try to figure out what might be the situation. I was informed that the people on the council had heard certain things that had been transmitted to them in the council meetings, but that there was no opinion regarding that matter. Do I have 3 minutes? Getting close. So anyway, I wanted to find out more and tried to talk to the city attorney. It was quite an interesting process, took quite a bit of effort. But today, I was finally able to do that and got verification that there was such an opinion. That's good news. But I would urge you all to take a look at the F1 that Scott emailed to me today, this afternoon, regarding assets. It's very interesting, and careful look at it would give you time to think about if there are any possible conflicts of interest. I'm over time, so I better check out. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Rob. Sherry Eckert, followed by Lydia Henning.
Hi, Sherry Eckert, 40-year resident of Bainbridge Island, worked for most of 30 years on the island. I think you all received my email today about the recent sale of the Key and how that affects those of us who try to live and work on this island. I'm not just a renter, that's my home for 16 years. You have people there that are low income, some of them elderly, and this particular piece of property was pushed out to multiple buyers at over the market rate because we are under market rate rentals. So that means renovation and evicting us out of our space. Not only do I live there, but I also help my neighbors. 16 years, always been a good tenant, and now I'm faced with potentially losing my home. I also work at Island Fitness. I'm the one that deals with the parking BS. I'm the one out there calling the tow trucks, talking to our other business owners who allow their employees to park there, and then we have no place for our members to park to come to the gym. My family lives here. I raised my daughter here. I want to stay in my home. I promised myself I wouldn't cry, but this is a big deal. This island has become so unaffordable. And in 40 years, I've watched artists and diversity leave this island because they cannot afford to live here. What I want is a quantified, what is affordable housing in terms of dollars, how many units, and what you are going to do to protect the renters that could potentially lose their home. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Lydia Henning, followed by Bevan Taylor.
Hi, City Council members.
Yeah, I think you hold it and it'll work its way up. There you go.
Here we go. Okay. Thank you. My name is Lydia. I am a member of Livable Bainbridge, a group of community members passionate about making our island affordable and accessible to all. Council members received a letter yesterday from Livable Bainbridge outlining some of our requests related to your consideration tonight of the housing elements and the Winslow sub-area plan, although we also included recommendations about the development regulations. I understand that will be addressed at a later meeting, but I would still like to highlight some of those points here because I still think that they're relevant. First, at a previous meeting, the Planning Commission has formally requested that Council return to higher bonus FARs of 3 and 4 in the Ferry and High School zones. And I would echo that recommendation. Increasing bonus FAR is necessary to make building affordable housing feasible for private developers. And with the current bonus FAR of 2.5, the policy memo as it currently stands states that voluntary inclusionary zoning will fall to 0 with the 2.5 bonus FAR. Council should be aiming to use public resources efficiently, reducing the cost of building housing to taxpayers and maximizing options for building affordable housing. I also ask that the council return to a base FAR of 1.0 in Central Core, Ferry, and High School road zones. This is a relatively modest standard, and it's also necessary for us to reaching our targets for multifamily homes. And Livable Bainbridge has made other requests and comments on various aspects of these elements of the comp plan that are up tonight. But I would also just like to reaffirm that we can do more than the bare minimum when it comes to building affordable housing. City Council members know these details. You've been really deep in them for a long time, and I really appreciate the work that you're doing. And I just ask that you be ambitious and responsive to the community's needs when making these decisions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lydia. Bevan Taylor, followed by Mira. I'm not even going to try. I can't really read it. So please be ready.
Good evening, Council. My name is Bevan Taylor, and I'm here to read a statement on behalf of Livable Bainbridge. Good evening, Council members. Livable Bainbridge is a community group, group of community members drawn together by a shared belief that a more affordable, accessible, inclusive, and resilient community is possible. We come from different backgrounds and are fortunate to call Bainbridge home. We are here tonight not to present new information, but to call attention to what this council and community already know. That many people living here and those who commute here to serve this community are unduly burdened by the cost of housing. We call for a more ambitious approach to this crisis. The unfortunate legacy of decades of zoning regulations created in this chamber has been the protection of ever-increasing property values and a status quo favoring those with the wealth to buy in, while often excluding those who can't. It is well past time to correct this legacy. Tonight, we are calling attention to the Winslow sub-area PC policy memo included in the agenda packet. I understand it has now been pulled, but for your consideration when it comes back. This memo is a discussion of the differences between a land capacity analysis completed in February and another one began early this month. The discussion is troubling. It clearly shows this council moving in the wrong direction when it comes to ensuring the production of affordable housing. From the memo, quote, the February LCA cleared the requirement by 99 units. The June direction reverses that. Most of the changes reduce capacity. The new inclusionary program does not fully offset them, and the projected multifamily production falls from 99 units above requirement to approximately 110 below it, end quote. The memo goes on to say that this is a best case scenario and the actual shortfall will likely be larger. Our request tonight is simple. At the minimum, the council must restore all development regulations in Ordinance 2026-05 to the values used during the February land capacity analysis, including but not limited to base FAR of 1 in the Central Core, Ferry, and High School Road zones, and a max FAR of 3 and 4 in those same zones. The restoration of these regulations represents a baseline commitment to the affordable housing the island so desperately needs. Anything short would be a continuation of our community's legacy of exclusion. With clarity of purpose and bold action, we believe a brighter future is possible. We envision a Bainbridge Island where the people who work here can live here, the people who live here can stay here, and the people, especially those currently and historically excluded, are welcomed and able to thrive. We thank this council for their attention and your action on this matter.
Thank you, Bevan. Mira, followed by, oh boy, is it Shannon? Mira, yeah, and then followed by, I believe Shannon, someone, sorry. Please go forward, Mira.
Hi, Council. Thanks for your work. My name is Mira Rosencoates, and I work and live on Bainbridge Island. I'm here tonight, just like before, to state my full support for affordable housing projects on Bainbridge, especially 625. I'm also part of Livable Bainbridge, as many of you know. And as I spent time looking through all of our documents, research, requests, and numbers tonight, I felt an overwhelming sense of dread and disappointment. It feels like we have come out here every week, and it takes all of us to drag a few of you one single step closer to a brighter, more diverse, more resilient island. And then often we lose that footing that we've gained between meetings. It's utterly exhausting, deeply frustrating, and extremely disheartening. Many of us are deeply disappointed and feel extremely let down. I could stand here and tell you to increase the base FAR to 1 and to not raise the parking minimums and 100 other things that you already know. But you already know them. You already know what codes and policies get affordable housing built. I know that you know them because many of you do an excellent job standing in their way. I'm tired of it. I know that all of you are tired of working on it. I want to urge you all instead to ask yourselves, what is possible? How vibrant, diverse, inclusive, affordable, sustainable, expansive, and resilient could our island be? What does that world look like? What codes and policies could make that happen? I know you've heard many of them as suggestions tonight and over the past couple months. I urge you to take them seriously. Thank you.
Thank you. And sorry, I can't read the handwriting. I believe it's Shannon, followed by Meg Kyber. Sharon, okay, thank you.
I'm also speaking to the Key apartments that were recently sold. My home at the Key Apartments, Shannon Drive, for the past 6 years was sold June 9th, 16.8 million. The new owners are non-residents with designs to renovate and upscale. That was in their advert. 70 units of mostly lower income locals. This impact is not a small issue on this island. This is personal for me. I've lived here decades, raised 2 boys, worked for the school district, participated for 30 years in the Rotary auction coming up, active throughout the community. The Key Apartments was the perfect fit for me, the location and within my fixed financial resources. With the sale of these apartment buildings, the rug's been pulled out from under, as there are few options for lower and fixed incomes. The City of Bainbridge Island's mission statement that I looked up for affordable housing framework centers on a goal to encourage the availability of affordable housing to all economic segments of the population and to provide a variety of affordable housing choices so that more people who work on Bainbridge can live here. What action is the City Council willing to take to prevent the displacement of myself and my neighbors by the purchase of the Key Apartments on our island? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Meg, followed by, I believe, Dennis.
Thank you so much for this time that I have to share my message. And I'm also from Key Apartment. My name is Meg Kyber, and I've lived here 2.5 years. I'm retired, and the reason I moved here is because I'm a caregiver for my sister who also lives on the island. So she just lives around the corner. I'm always at her place many times a week. I take her, drive her to all of her appointments, and I'm a caregiver, so I do what caregivers do. And I really do need to be close to her. So this is really important for me. I love where I am. My rent has only increased $85 in 2.5 years. So that seems reasonable. You know, of course, it goes up. That's what happens. And I also understand someone who's wants to purchase a property and they want to, you know, increase their investment. I get that, but it looks like, according to the information we got today, that there will be trying to increase the apartment rents by almost 10%, which the state of Washington allows. So 10% a year, that will increase my rent from $1,585 to over $2,500. And I can't, that's not sustainable. And it seems to me, just this hearing the people that have been speaking here tonight, I mean, they're looking for changes in development, et cetera, along the same line. And here's a building that's already there with my fellow neighbors, and we're all there and we love our place. It's just a basic apartment building, you know, it's, what do they call it? NOAA, naturally occurring affordable housing. So I would really love that to stay that way. So I'm hoping that you hear our message and that as your council members, that you will do whatever you can to help us to stay in our apartments. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope that says Dennis, and followed by Elise.
Hello, council members. My name is Dennis Golick. Just want to say a few short words. First, this past week we had Juneteenth, and I saw several of you there, spoke. It was a wonderful event, and I hope it continues well into the future. Like to see more people from the council and here in the audience to join. Which brings us to this Saturday. This Saturday is Pride Day, the 20th, down at the Waterfront Park. Love to see all of you there. And again, encourage people to come, and it's part of our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Elise Wright.
I haven't been here in so long.
That does go down too as well.
My
The concept.
yeah.
Have to hold the button for a little bit.
Okay, is that the right height there? Just another reason to wish I was 5'10". My name is Elise Wright. My husband and I were fortunate enough to move here in 1974. At that when some of you weren't born, but some of you have been here that long. Looking at you, Laura Lance. At that time, the island, as you know, was very different. There was a blacksmith still in a gravel parking lot near the Sears catalog store, which was the only place to buy underwear. And you had to wait. There were not juried artists in shows. There were craftspeople living on the island. The only real Bainbridge author we knew taught English at the high school. As you know, it's changed, but affordability in those days was not an issue. We were part of the gangplank generation. We thought we had found paradise, and since we were here, we didn't want anyone else. As pressures for growth increased, I railed against Winslow tomorrow and the 55 foot height limits, and still try to do everything we can to be environmentally conscious and to conserve our water resources. Having said all that, I have also watched over the years friends leave their waterfront property and have to move north. I've watched one beloved preschool teacher who lived in affordable housing on the island have to turn down a raise because she wouldn't be able to afford to live anywhere else on the island if she got it. Following my mentor, Ed Kushner, I've been an advocate for affordable housing for a long time, and my heart was broken when the southeast corner of New Brooklyn and Sportsman's Club Road was first selected and planned and all but developed for affordable housing. I thought, this is perfect. Kids can walk to school from here. People can walk to the grocery store from here. The response to that was what the response has always been, as far as I can tell, in the last 40 years to affordable housing. One thing after another is thrown at the project by well-intentioned people who say, I'm all in favor for affordable housing, but not right here, not right now. This is the wrong place. This is the wrong time. I've become very aware of the requests that Livable Bainbridge is making of you. I hope that you really, really deeply consider them. My husband said, do not leave your soul on the floor of the council chamber, but I beg you to be the council that turns around what's happening to our island, what's happening to the folks who live in the Key apartment. I beg you, there will be development. It doesn't have to be market rate, and you can change it. Thank you.
Thank you, Elise. And we share the same dream about being 5'10". I'd settle for 5'8" myself. So that's all the people who have signed up there in the chambers. Are there anybody in chambers who would like to come forward and speak? Just please state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, Dennis Golick again. Didn't want to distract from my other thing. I just wanted to ask, when are our ward meetings going to happen again? Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else in the audience? All right, City Clerk, do we have people on the line who wish to speak?
Yes, Marcia Cutting signed up in advance.
Yeah, please admit her in.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, we can hear you.
Thank you. Okay. I'm actually reading a comment from Teresa Song, who is not able to be here tonight. Dear Bainbridge Island City Council, I first moved to Bainbridge Island in 2010 for Islandwood's graduate certificate program, and then worked in the graduate program until 2021. In my 9 years coordinating the program, I did my best to support students and alumni to find affordable housing, but it was a constant struggle, especially for students moving to Bainbridge with partners, children, and pets. After leaving Islandwood, I worked as a paraeducator for the BISD. I worked for 2 different schools for 3 years and was the only full-time person of color on staff in those buildings. Despite Washington State's and the school district's progressive values on DEI, I was shocked at the lack of racial and ethnic diversity, which is a loss for all members of the community. I share this not to blast Islandwood for not being able to provide sufficient housing options for all students, or the BISD for not hiring and maintaining a sufficiently diverse workforce, but to point out how everything is connected and impacts everything else. I also have worked part-time for a local landscaping company, weeding and maintaining the lawns and gardens of beautiful homes, many of which were known to not be occupied most of the year, a statistic that turns out to be 1/3. Most of my co-workers commuted from the peninsula, some as far as Bremerton, because the hourly wage of $22 per hour was higher than the $20 per hour they'd find closer to their homes. I now help grow healthy and delicious fruits and vegetables through Butler Green Farms, and am again one of the few staff who live on Bainbridge. One coworker lives in internship housing, and my other coworker was fortunate enough to buy his house on the island because he qualified for an affordable home. I live on Bainbridge only because a property owner has chosen to offer affordable rent. My husband and I applied for Housing Resources Bainbridge, but we are in the middle income range that is just enough to not qualify for affordable housing at times, but not enough to save and earn enough to afford buying a home. I absolutely support low income and affordable housing options for all, especially for those who continue to be disproportionately impacted by inequitable systems of oppression. Ideally, I would prefer for my rent to go towards local tribes as part of the land back movement and reparations. But until it is possible, I respectfully request that the BI City Council integrate as many concrete ways for low income and middle income affordable housing options to be available for a more vibrant and diverse community. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcia. Are there any further folks online? And one last call for those in attendance tonight, if you'd like to come forward. All right, I will close public comment. Moving to item number 4, the consent agenda. Any motions to approve? Councilmember Nelson?
I would like to pull items 4C, D, E, and F.
Councilmember Nelson.
Second.
Has moved to take the consent agenda and remove 4 items. Items C, D, E, and F, and there has been a second. Any discussion? No discussion. All right. All those in favor of the proposed motion, please say aye.
Wait, point of order.
Aye.
Mayor, I don't believe it requires a motion to pull from the consent agenda.
Okay. We move it as amended. I mean, to remove items. Okay, so we had 5 ayes, is that correct? Okay. Or we don't need it. All right, we just put it out. All right. Okay, now approval of the consent agenda as amended.
I move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
Moved and seconded to remove items C, D, E, and F from the consent agenda for further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Vote is 6-0. The chair votes aye, 7-0. The consent agenda has been approved as amended. Next on item is item 5, interim city manager's report.
I believe we'll be addressing item C next from the consent agenda. The items that were pulled.
Oh yeah, 4, sorry. Yeah, let's do it. All right, thanks, gang. So let's do these in alphabetical order. Consent agenda item C, authorize a budget increase 133,000 of real estate excise tax to replace reduced transportation improvement board grant funds in support of the Eagle Harbor Drive safety improvements and Wyatt Way bicycle and pedestrian safety improvements project. Since this was pulled, anybody want to speak to the reason why it's pulled? Not, oh, Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, I just was hoping to get a little bit of a background and explanation from the interim city manager on this item.
Interim city manager, please.
Thank you. For the people in the room, this is an item related to the Head of the Bay project. And this and the next item respond to increased costs that we experienced over the time of the project. In particular, the item C refers to the transportation part of this and looks for a swap of funding. The amount of grant funding was reduced due to a change in scope. And so while the budget hasn't increased, the funding source has changed. The city is working with the Transportation Board to request that they restore that funding, but in the interim, we are asking for additional REIT funding to cover the increased costs. Costs covered by this include extra work needed, include some changes that were necessitated during the project as we learned more and also responded to community and staff learnings around how that project might work better, and also things to make the project smoother, such as temporary traffic signals, striping and curb changes, and other changes that were made to make this project more efficient and effective for the community.
Any other comments?
I just
Councilman
want to,
Outland?
thank you. I just want to say thank you to Interim City Manager Schroer, because this is a big lift for you to explain, and I appreciate that you have done that. This was a big project that went a bit longer and in a bit different direction than originally proposed, and here we are, and it's done for the most part. And I do appreciate the explanation for the public. Thank you.
Any further comment? I'll entertain a motion to have this approved. Anyone? Bueller?
I move to authorize a budget increase of $133,000 of REIT to replace.
Yeah, please.
To replace reduced transportation improvement board grant funds in support of Eagle Harbor Drive safety improvements and Wyatt Way bicycle and pedestrian safety improvement project.
I second.
Moved by Councilmember Lant, seconded by Councilmember Matthews to forward consent item 4C. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? A vote of 6-0 and the chair votes aye. Unanimous 7-0. Now to item 4D, authorize a budget amendment for the Eagle Harbor Drive water main replacement project. Councilman Nelson, since you pulled this, would
Yeah, same request, just a little bit of background from the interim city manager.
Sure, happy to provide that. Sorry about the echo. This is a different part of the same project. This is the Head of the Bay project, is a suite of three: a stormwater project, a water main project, and the transportation improvements and safety work that we're doing. With water projects, utility projects, these are underground, and sometimes the things that you find underground are different than what you anticipate. In this case, that happened, and it created some additional work and therefore some additional cost, as we needed to locate existing pipes and then resolve any resolve utility conflicts that were subsequently discovered. Also, along the line of safety and community resilience, we did add fire hydrants to this portion of the road, and we made some repairs to existing water connections. So this is a request to increase the budget and funding from the water fund to a total of $80,000. Thank you.
Councilman Matthews.
I authorize a budget amendment in the amount of $80,000 per water fund in parentheses for the Eagle Harbor Drive water main replacement project.
I'll take that as a motion. Councilmember Scheider.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to move forward item 4D on the agenda. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The vote is 6-0 and the chair votes aye, 7-0. Item 4E, review and approve revisions to the transportation element and the island-wide mobility plan. Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, I pulled the item just so that I can note that I will be voting no on this. I continue to oppose the transportation plan. I just think we can't afford it. Again, it's a $100 million plan that overemphasizes elaborate and expensive bike facilities while underemphasizing, basic road maintenance and common sense solutions. I just think this money would be better spent on basic road maintenance, implementing the groundwater management plan, and affordable housing. So I'm going to be voting no on this.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson. See no further lights, no further. Councilmember Scheider.
I know I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. There's a lot of data out there that say 30% of us don't drive. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Scheider. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion for us to pass item 4E, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
We have 5 yeas, 1 nay. And the chair votes aye, so it is 6-1. It moves forward. Council, number 4F, review and approve revisions to the land use element of the comprehensive plan. Councilmember Lant.
Thank you. Councilmember Nelson, did you want to say something before I did? Just checking on you. You pulled it, but I have something to say as well.
I can make
I'll
brief
recognize
comments.
Councilmember Nelson.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Just brief comments. I'm opposing this element primarily because of the decision to designate the Winslow Town Center as a countywide growth center. I continue to believe this is not required, and that I'm just worried that we've already lost so much local control because of state mandates that this is an unnecessary step to voluntarily give up even more local control. So I continue to oppose this, and I will be voting no. Thank you.
Councilmember Lant.
Thank you. I appreciate that this appreciate that we codify our commitment. Motion I'm going to propose serves as a placeholder for the work we verbally agreed that the Planning Commission will prioritize in 2026 and 2027. And per Commissioner DeWitt's statements, approximately 90% of the city staff's work regarding this has already been done, and there's not much left to be done. So my motion is as follows. I motion to prepare development of specific zoning standards with the Bainbridge Island Metropolitan Park and Recreation District with the Planning Commission for public park properties which were identified for park zoning on the future land use map during the comprehensive plan updates determination of environmental impact statement, that's the DEIS, public review.
Second.
Second to the motion.
A second.
Councilmember Lant's motion addressing an issue requested by the Bainbridge Island Metropolitan Parks and Recreation District, and Councilmember Fenway seconded, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, and Councilmember Scheider. Councilmember Scheider.
I just would like it if you could repeat it, please. Yeah, and maybe point out the differences with what you see on the screen.
Okay, so there's been a request from Councilmember Scheider. I'll recognize Councilmember Lant.
And what I've stated and what's on the screen should be the same. It's a brand new land use action number 10. And that would be on page LU 33 of the land use element policy. And this is prepared development of specific zoning standards with the Bainbridge Island Metropolitan Park and Recreation District with the Planning Commission for public park properties which were identified for park zoning on the future land use map during the comprehensive plan updates determination of environmental impact statement, that's the DEIS, public review.
Okay, motion done. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
So, with the metro, is it sort of in cooperation, or is it really that we would be preparing them? I mean, would be our development regulations, right? So is with the quite the right?
Right. So Mayor, if I may.
Okay, Councilmember Lant.
Thank you. So this is, during the course of Planning Commission deliberations, the Park District zoning, public and private overlays and zoning districts were discussed at length. Each time a motion was made, it was slightly different. And at the end of the day, the Planning Commission really wanted to discuss this further. And yet here we are at a comprehensive plan update with a 20-year timeline, and updates are on an annual basis. It's very important for the Park District to get something on the books that says, we mean what we've said we wanted to do. It's not their fault that we are behind in our comprehensive plan updates. So what this motion proposes to do is to prioritize zoning standards in tandem with the Planning Commission, and then therefore with City Council, that we are going to look at development zoning standards to create a park zone that will be in tandem with the future land use map that was created earlier.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos?
So I want to support this. I probably will, even if it doesn't get changed. It feels a little clunky and that it feels to me like the city will create the development standards and working with the planning commission and obviously informed by the work with the BIP, parks. But this feels like it's like the city's on is, it feels like the park district is sort of like on equal footing in the room, which is, I don't mean there shouldn't be full, involvement and informing, et cetera, but it just feels structurally a little bit wrong to me, but that's okay. If nobody else feels that way.
Councilmember Lamb?
If you have a friendly amendment, I would take it.
In cooperation with the Bainbridge Island Parks, Metropolitan Park and Recreation District and with planning, and I guess the with planning commission recommendations, I'm not sure. I mean, it's through that process. It just feels a little awkward, but I guess, we can leave that, I guess, at least just saying in cooperation with the Bainbridge Island Metropolitan Park and Recreation District. I don't know if staff has any thoughts about what they would like to see with the wording, since this is staff who would be doing the work.
City Manager?
Thank you. I do appreciate the idea that the city staff is responsible for developing city development regulations. We, of course, would consult with our community partners, the Parks and Recreation District, and of course, take guidance from the Planning Commission. But you do have professional planning staff. That is their job, and we would be happy to work on policies as you direct. Certainly in consultation with, but as the lead.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Councilmember Brownell Johnson.
So my understanding is that this is just a placeholder, right? And that we can come back and, or send it to staff and let them develop it the way it should be as far as the language.
Councilmember Lamb?
Thank you.
No.
Yeah, and I'll respond to you, Councilmember Fentroy Johnson. I believe this is just more of a statement that because there's nothing substantially in writing right now in our comprehensive plan or the updates that we've made that speaks to this, that this is something in writing that the BIM PRD, the Park District, can hold on to as a priority that we have set for staff to work on 26, 27 years. So I call it a placeholder. It's really just acknowledgement that we're thinking about it and it will be done and there will be place for it in this comprehensive plan.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, then Councilmember Scheider, then Councilmember Nelson.
I think maybe the order in which it might need to be, it's apparently directed at staff. It doesn't say that necessarily, but it's basically staff would work with the Planning Commission to develop these in cooperation with parks, as I think somehow it needs to be rewarded. To go to Councilmember Fentroy Johnson's point, I'm sure staff would prefer we could just kick it out and be done. But I mean, rather than trying to wordsmith it, if that's basically what we'd like it to say, the motion could just ask them to word it that way so that it's staff working with Planning Commission to develop the standards in cooperation with the Park District.
Councilmember Scheider, then Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor. So I fully support the intent of this, and I've just been searching like crazy to try to see if there is already an existing placeholder, maybe with different wording or whatever, and I can't find it. So I will support it, but it's frustrating to not be able to find things. It looks like in the table of contents, there is something there, but when I try to go to that place, I can't find it. Maybe I could ask the city manager, does the Park Land Use District reference that? I know it's LUXX, which doesn't help in trying to find it, and searching doesn't help us find it. I just don't want to create a conflict or a battle of the motions if there already is a placeholder.
Deputy Mayor.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I think I'll ask planning staff. We have our senior planner and our planning manager. They may be able to help us with specifics. I'm not, I too sometimes get confused by looking at the table of contents and trying to find something on the spot. So I appreciate that, Councilmember Schneider.
Thank you, Council. Darren Buchanan, Planning Manager. There is under, let's see, LU 22 and also LU 24, pages LU 23 and pages LU 24, is the goal LU 13. Under that, it talks about adding a park overlay district. There's also another policy that says to collaborate with the Bainbridge Island Metro Park and Recreation and other community partners on drafting community engagement and adoption process for a park overlay district as well. So one of the questions staff would have is whether we're working on towards a park zone itself or a park overlay or both. The motion that majority of the work is done is slightly accurate. I wouldn't say 90%, but there's still some kinks that we need to work out. Not to bother you with getting in the weeds of those, but we would need direction on what we're doing, a zone or overlay or both as well.
Councilmember Lynn?
Thank you very much for that. And this has been a kind of a confusing point because at some point, and who's on first, and this particular section that I am adding a motion to is simply for public agencies, not private agencies. So whether it's an overlay or a zone, and I wouldn't mind, I know sitting right behind you is a planner for the park district who might, okay. So at this time, I would like to say that there's been much confusion about the overlay versus the zoning. And I think that the Planning Commission and city staff can still work through this. There was a zoning map that was presented earlier that had park zoning on it. And I think that is what the park district is hoping that we point this motion towards. That's what my intent is. And that is the, again, specifically to call out the location of where I would put this new motion. That would be Land Use Action 10. This would be a prioritized action. And it would really call this to the forefront of the work of staff in this next 2026, 27, cycle.
Councilmember Nelson?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so I thank Darren for pointing out goal LU 13 on page LU 23 and 24, which is about the park overlay district. And it really does have the sort of, goal to create, a park overlay district, which is, I think, the intent of this. But what I appreciate about Councilmember Lance's motion here is that she's also adding an action item, not just a policy, so an action item at the end. And I just think this should be keyed to the goal, LU 13, have it be an overlay. And also I want to call out that, we did amend policy LU 13.2 to include other community partners to open up that possibility that potentially other organizations' lands could be included in the park overlay district. So I would ask that this action item also include other community partners in addition to just parks and the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Councilman Nelson. Councilor Scheider?
Thank you, Mayor. So maybe this was in discussion with the interim city manager, so I don't know if this is information that we've all shared, but it's my understanding that council is going to be asked to prioritize a list of motions that staff, a list of work items that that staff will put together for us. So whereas I appreciate the action being called for and the priority here, because I do personally feel that this is going to be very high priority, I do think that that prioritization needs to happen in the context of other other work items. So this whole thing is just a really confusing process. And so by saying that at the moment, I feel like I can't support it, it doesn't mean that I can't support the intent with which it was brought forward. So I just don't want to see colliding motions. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Schreider. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos?
I'm not, I may have missed something. I'm not seeing where where us prioritizing this as an action says it has to happen in 2027, for example, right? This is a 20-year document theoretically. So, I mean, honest, I'm genuinely asking, am I missing something? We're just simply saying it's an action that we will undertake. So I support that. I have no problem with that. We will do our prioritizing for 2027 soon, and this may or may not make it on there, but this doesn't, there's all sorts of things we're going to do over this 20-year cycle. So I still support it. Would still like to ask staff to just wordsmith a little bit to just say, it's just to clarify, it's the city making its development regulations, definitely working with the park district, and that it's going to be done at the planning commission. So
Thank you,
still
Deputy
support
Mayor. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hartopoulos. Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'd like to offer an amended motion. I'd like to move that the city interim manager direct staff to develop specific zoning standards in cooperation with the Bainbridge Island Metropolitan Park and Recreation District for public park properties and/or private nonprofit parks, which were identified for park zoning on the future land use map during the comprehensive plan updates determination of environmental impact statement DIS public review.
Second.
Moved and seconded with the motion, Deputy Mayor Hartopoulos.
Is that now not an amendment to the land use element, but direction to staff? Or to the city manager right now? Or was that wording for the land use?
Sorry. Interim City Manager.
Oh, thank you for clarifying, Deputy Mayor. I had the same question.
Councilmember Lamb.
Let me restate. I move to prepare development of specific zoning standards in cooperation with staff and the Bainbridge Island Metropolitan Park and Recreation District for public park properties and private nonprofit parks, which were identified for park zoning on the future land use map during the comprehensive plan updates determination of environmental impact statements public review.
Okay, I'm going to rule that this is a new motion, not an amendment. So we have to complete the previous motion that was still on the floor discussing the original motion of new land use action. That can be brought up after the vote. Councilmember Franklin Johnson.
Can we kind of like back up a little bit, because I think I'm getting confused. I think what was trying to happen, let me phrase it that way, was that we wanted staff to wordsmith this and bring it back to us, right? And then at that point, maybe we could add it into the comp plan as a holder, a space holder, until we start prioritizing our actions. If that's what we're trying to do, that's the way I understand it. Tell me if I'm got it wrong.
Thank you, Councilmember Franklin Johnson. Deputy Mayor Hartopoulos.
Yes, and I don't even think we have to. I would hope that we're being clear enough that we don't have to worry about it coming back and deciding whether to put it in. We're saying we want to add this land use action, substantially saying, if what I'm saying is okay, substantially saying that we, the city, will undertake the development of these specific zoning standards, working with the planning commission. That's where I get kind of caught, because to me, I'm assuming that actually is already happening. So I'm sure we have to talk about it in cooperation with Bainbridge Island Parks, and then the rest of the motion as incorporate the rest of the motion that Councilmember Land has here. So we're not wordsmithing up here, and it just gets in there.
Yeah, I just have I guess a clarifying. The DEIS only took into account public parks, didn't take into account private parks.
I didn't, yeah, and that was added in that recent motion that's not here. I don't think.
Okay.
That's where we don't have to move into that yet. So this motion that I'm advocating for having staff just clean up the language a little bit, would not go into the territory, but we did already discuss that as something we'd like to explore elsewhere.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hartopoulos, Councilmember Lant, and Councilmember Scheider. Oh,
I guess I just wanted to ask the interim manager if she had enough information for that.
I believe that my understanding is that we're adding a new land use action.
it will number it in whatever number, but I think that we understand the intent. And with the clarification, I think that we can develop language that's consistent with the discussion. We'll put it in the event or in the land use element, and it will come back to you as part of the public hearing draft. So you will be able to see it again at that time.
Councilmember Scheider?
So that means that we're asking staff to develop this regulation for the comp plan overall, or is this going to happen after the comp plan?
To
This
the
is
interim
the-
manager.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah, go, interim.
This is a policy statement that we'll be developing, and then the action would be subsequent to the comprehensive plan approval.
Okay.
Councilor
In the
Scheider?
context of the other prioritization of comprehensive plan actions.
Okay. I will vote for it because I want to vote for the intent. I don't understand what we're doing differently right now. All of these actions are going to come back to us for prioritization. So I don't really understand how it makes a difference, but I will vote for it.
Thank you, Councilmember Scheider. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I think just for the context is that the comprehensive plan includes policies, it includes goals, and it includes action items. It's elevating this to an action item. Doesn't have to be something that's done next year or anything, but it's saying this specific thing, we're saying we want to see it get done. And so that's why it's important. But that's the relevance of adding this, as opposed to just thinking about it. We're saying we want to move forward with that, but we can prioritize later with staff when that happens.
Okay, go on.
Thanks, Mayor. And then I think,
Matthews.
and then we can make the motion, or we can vote. So I think this also follows along with Planning Commission's desires, because they really did want to work on this, and it was something that they just had to work on it because it's going to take a little bit after adoption. So I think this is in line with that.
All right, any further discussion on this matter? Okay, I'll call a question for the motion to, I don't even want to try to read it. I think we know what we're getting at. All right, very good. Council is in agreement on that. So, all in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, 6-0, and the chair votes aye, 7-0. Now, Councilmember Lant had a second motion.
This was regarding the private nonprofit parks, right? So in tandem with LU Action 10, which I had proposed, which is what is going to be discussed by staff and brought back again in the in a later form, I'd like the same discussion by staff to happen for private nonprofit parks who experience the same have the same experiences as public parks.
Second.
Move. So is that, pardon me, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos?
So I won't support this. I feel like we're going too far on something we said that we would look at. It may be a very legitimate and valuable thing to do, but I'm not ready to add it as an action. We already did incorporate it as something we'd be exploring.
Yeah. Councilmember Fowler Johnson.
I'm going to apologize to Councilmember Lant before I even say it, but I need to hear the motion.
Councilmember Lant, you recognize.
I already told her, don't make me say the motion. Make the motion. All right. So my motion, so the backdrop to the motion briefly is that private nonprofit parks have the same, very often, the same experiences with permitting, with construction and other things that public parks do. And I acknowledge that private parks are not incorporated into the language of the comprehensive plan as it's written right now. There's a section in there that we just talked about, LU 10, that actually talks about public agencies, which would be a public park. Well, I'm talking about private parks. And there are private parks and private agencies, which are nonprofit, that serve, for the most part, the same the work and mission as a public park. For example, Bainbridge Island Land Trust, Islandwood, Blodell. And for those places or those agencies to get permits, they have to go through a very long involved process because they're still in residential zoned locations or zoned areas. And so if we can give them consideration in future, it doesn't have to be now, but I would like to placehold that we're going to discuss at some point nonprofit parks, land trust, but BI Parks and Trails, to discuss how we can take them out of a residentially zoned zoning district and put them into a parking overlay for private and public parks. That's the intent here.
Thank you, Councilmember Land. Any further discussion? I'll jump in. I agree with the Deputy Mayor. This is really issue specific, and I don't know, it's something that's a little focused for a comp plan, and we can always bring it up. It's one of these items that doesn't necessarily need a full motion from the council, but something we can add for an agenda item for discussion. And I think that's probably the more appropriate way to go. So I'm going to oppose the motion, but that's my view. Councilmember Fallon Johnson.
Yeah, I agree. It's really too much information for me to vote on tonight. We could put it on a future study session or whatever. Yeah, I'm not going to support it.
So we have Councilmember Land, sorry.
I'll withdraw my motion if I made one. If I made one, and perhaps move this to consideration for a future agenda item.
Okay, we will take that duly noted.
Thank you.
Thank Councilmember Land. Okay, so now we'll motion for item 4F.
So I move, right? So we need to move, so I move approval of revisions to the land use element of the comprehensive plan for inclusion in the final public hearing draft of the comprehensive plan update.
Seconded, moved by Councilmember Matthews, seconded by Councilmember Fallon Johnson to move item 4F as stated. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Just a quick comment. I'm tempted to join Councilor Nelson in voting nay, but my hope is that if I help move this along, ultimately this plan is going to be in a condition that I'm comfortable voting for. So I'm going to reserve my right to reject it in the future and for now move it forward. For the same reason, like the designation as a countywide growth center.
Any further discussion? Call for the motion on the floor to approve item 4F. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Councilor Nelson? Okay. All those nay? All those opposed, say nay.
Nay.
So you voted nay, right? I said, oh, okay. So we have 5 yeas, 1 nay. Chair votes aye, with Councilmember Nelson dissenting. The motion passes 6-1. Okay, now we move to City Manager's report.
Good evening, Council. I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce our interim Public Works Director. We have some interims joining us, and I'll invite Henry Hash to the podium to introduce himself and give you just a few words about his background. We're very grateful to have him here. He joined us on the 1st of June and has been hitting the ground running and assisting with projects.
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, the Honorable Mayor and Council, Henry Hash, the Interim Public Works Director. I started June 1st. I have been in Public Works for about 38 years, 35 years of it as a director, different parts of the country, including the state of Washington, different cities and county. I've been delighted to be here. Staff and the management and leadership has been more than helpful and supportive. So it's been easy 2.5 weeks. Looking forward to remaining of my time when the new Public Works Director is in. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Henry. I think the planning staff is so happy that you're here. They need that help, and your long experience, I think, will vote us well for our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Is that it? No, that's right. Okay. So let's go to regular business. Item 6A, Review and approve revisions to the housing element comprehensive plan. And members, I would again like to ask that in my previous email from last week that we try to be concise as possible, speak at least to the issue. And I'm going to be firm on if there is no second, we do not move it for discussion. If you can't get a second, then you clearly can't get 4 votes. And so why discuss something that doesn't have a chance of passage? So, and it's a time saving element as well as just that. So, regular business, review and approve revisions to housing element comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Council. Ellen Schroer, Interim City Manager. Before you right now is the housing element of the comprehensive plan. We are bringing this back to you. When you last reviewed this element, you made just over a dozen, 14 motions, which we have reflected in the version you're seeing tonight. Those show in yellow highlight, and also we've tried to annotate them so you can see the motion that they're responding to. In addition to the housing element, we are also working with the Department of Commerce to complete a review of this work through the Housing Accountability Act. Staff continues to work on the city's response to the Housing Accountability Act and will next submit information to Commerce when the council's work on the housing element is complete and included in the public hearing draft. In order to support your discussion of housing issues, Department of Commerce staff, Laura Hodgson, is here online virtually and available to answer questions. We also have planning staff, our planning manager, Darren Buchanan, and senior planner, Jennifer Sutton, are also here to support your discussion as we move this forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much and welcome, Laura. Good to see you. Well, let's do in previous practice. A lot of people have different motions, so let's just work our way down the dais. We have 1 hour scheduled for this subject. Councilmember Land.
Do we have a moment for questions before we make?
Oh,
motions?
sure.
Okay. I have a question. All right. Hi, Laura Hodgson. It's Laura Lant here. I've seen you many times and I appreciate that you are, quick on your feet, thinking about all of these things that many cities are asking you. I have a question. All right, so I've been thinking quite a bit about our water-based community, and the GMA really focuses on land-based communities or land-based capacities. So under the Growth Management Act, how does the Department of Commerce guide local jurisdictions in classifying or accounting for water-based or floating residences in the housing inventories and the capacity planning? I'm especially interested in how units are treated in relation to how the U.S. Census treats water-based housing.
That is a very good question, and I'm going to have to, if you don't mind, I'm going to get back to you, or if it's okay, while you guys have some discussions, find that answer, because I haven't been asked it for 2 years. So I apologize, and I forgot the answer, but I do have some information on that and a specific place for frequently asked questions, although it is not frequently asked. So if you don't mind, I will ask to add that onto time when I'm asked another question, and I will look at that answer up if that's okay with you.
Wonderful. Thank you. No, absolutely put a pin in it. It's just been something that I think it's been kind of swirling. I don't know that it necessarily needs, before our comp plan this year to be answered, but it's a question to be discussed at some point, and I appreciate you putting it on your to-do list. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Land. Councilmember Matthews.
Thanks, Mayor. Hi, Laura. Thanks so much for being here with us this evening. You were so helpful joining Planning Commission's meeting, so thanks a lot. So I have a question, a long version and a short version. So the long version is our adequate provisions checklist identifies a 1,000 unit gap in affordable housing production, a funding gap of 24 million per year, and documents the tools we have available to address those affordable housing funding gaps. Can we be ruled compliant based on said documentation alone, or must we also demonstrate some commitment to implementing those goals? And then the short version are we required merely to document our gaps in affordable housing production and funding, or are we also required to implement policy changes to fill those gaps?
That is a great question. And our review of the city's latest materials that they've submitted to us indicate that with the changes that the staff have made to the adequate provisions, we find them consistent with the requirements of the Growth Management Act as we interpret them. There is a question that is circulating amongst the planning community about how much is enough to do for adequate provisions. And under the Growth Management Act, the requirement is to plan for and accommodate. We recognize that jurisdictions have limited funds to provide for all of the different aspects of that they have to administer within their jurisdiction. And the requirement in the GMA is not to fund affordable housing. So we recognize that identifying the gaps in funding and identifying what actions the local government can start to take to address those gaps and taking some action towards them, such as the actions that the city is proposing through its inclusionary zoning program and incentivizing affordable housing with affordable housing density bonuses. We believe the intent and the requirement is met with those, what the city is actively doing to address those.
Thank you, Laura. Deputy Mayor Hightower.
Okay, I'm going to try to be succinct, but to me, it's almost like asking the meaning of life. Okay, the question I'm going to ask is like, it is for, at least for some of us, the ultimate struggle we've had over the last 2 years wrestling with this. And that is informed by what you just said as well. The fear for some of us from the beginning has been that what 1220 was going to do is that Commerce was going to tell us, just zone it, just zone multifamily. You've now got unit type, you've checked the box, you can go away. And the fear being that what we wind up with is just a gift of additional units to the private market. There's no incentive for it to be affordable. We didn't advance on affordable housing. We just got more market rate, putting us further into the ratio we're trying to get out of. Then kind of through the cycle, we started hearing stuff was happening with Mercer Island, et cetera. So I just feel like there's going to be some meat on these bones, and we're not going to have to worry about that. We're going to be able to pull together something that says, here's how you get the capacity literally in the terms of units, and here are the mechanisms that will make sure that that's affordable and not just more capacity with no restraint. It feels like we're coming back around to the original concern that, again, some of us, me definitely has had, which is that Commerce is going to say, you've got to show us the unit numbers. Those are over here. There's nothing attached to them. They're just the free market. They're just more units of multifamily housing. And then great, you've dealt with adequate provisions, which I hope we have, and I'm always happy for us to do more. You've explored funding options. You're going to do what you can. You're done. For people like me, we're concerned that now what we've done is, especially when we have limited sewer capacity, above all, a finite number of units of ERUs, the market's going to do what the market does. There's no incentive for the private development to build affordable housing. And so those will be built. The sewer capacity will be gone, and we're going to pat ourselves in the back. Look what we did, which was nothing. So what I'm trying to understand is, am I right that Commerce is going to be looking for outright upzoning to the number of multifamily units that either that meets the 1220 target, or there's some other analysis that's simply units that is divorced from any requirement that those units ever be affordable? And I hope that makes sense. And the last thing I want to ask you about is, and I don't know if you can speak to it, hopefully it's bubbled up to you somewhere along the way. Some of us were really hoping that if we could have sort of a springing zoning, if we could basically say you could have your zoning anywhere in our sewer capacity area, if it's affordable, we could then really accomplish this, because we could say we're working on all of the adequate provisions we can. We're going to explore the funding, maybe do more if you can tell us what else we can do. But the zoning will come into being when the affordability is there. And so if you can speak at all to why that is not satisfactory to Commerce, and instead, if I'm correct, you want to see an outright upzoning with no attachment to affordability, help us understand. I hope that set up the questions.
Yes. So the requirement, as we've interpreted it at the moment, is that jurisdictions need to have the capacity for all of the housing types, the number of housing units in a housing typology that can likely be built. We recommend that jurisdictions also identify what are those tools within their control to incentivize as much of that being affordable housing as possible. That being said, there is no magic formula to getting affordable housing in our communities, unfortunately. If there was a perfect inclusionary zoning or a perfect affordable housing solution, we would be able to provide more guidance on that. And it's going to be different for each jurisdiction. So we recommend that jurisdictions tailor those programs to the greatest extent feasible. And the goals under the Growth Management Act are to encourage that housing as much as possible, but not to require it, because we need all types of housing as much as possible. So there isn't a specific explicit requirement to make sure that that housing actually ends up being built within a jurisdiction under the Growth Management Act.
Okay,
Council,
thank you.
I'm sorry. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos. Councilmember Nelson.
Hi, Laura. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. So my question is really around utilization rates, and particularly for voluntary inclusionary zoning. I know that it's really focused on this idea of, what incentives do you need to put in where the market will create it, right? You've kind of told us that we can't just use sort of government-owned land and sort of subsidies that we plan to put in, that won't really increase the utilization rate. But I think my question is really around, what about nonprofits? And aren't nonprofits a part of the market? And so when you're showing your work around why you believe particular utilization rates are appropriate, would it be appropriate to also consider the extent to which nonprofits would use the program and not just for-profit entities?
Yes, and I agree that is part of the information, and that is something that we recommend jurisdictions consider in proposing their in the rates of utilization of incentives and zoning opportunities within a jurisdiction. And we recommend that it be based on some sort of information, past information, and that is collected rather than just a feeling or an understanding of, well, there's 2 developers in our community. If those 2 developers are not actually putting in any applications over the past 5 or 10 years, then it wouldn't make sense to use that information moving forward, because that isn't something that is going to be grounded in reality. So we recommend that jurisdictions use some of that information, but base it in something that is local to the community. And this, apologies, there's a little bit of an echo, and I'm not sure why that is, but it just seemed to happen automatically.
No, and so just to sort of clarify my understanding, it really is this idea that you can and should consider the extent to which nonprofits would use the program, but you have to show your work.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson. Any other folks like to talk to our guest? So let's move. There are motions that are being considered tonight. And like we have done in the past, we'll start at 1 in the dais and move down. So who has the first motion to move? Councilmember Lamb, then Councilmember Matthews.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to go to page HO 11, that's housing element 11. And this is an update to the policy. This is update to policy HO 2.1. And the original motion, or the original policy stated track the supply of regulated and naturally occurring affordable housing and naturally occurring affordable housing, track the supply of regulated and naturally occurring affordable housing and engage with current operators to support continued affordability. I move to make some changes to this effect. Track the supply of regulated and naturally occurring affordable housing, develop strategies to preserve and maintain their long-term affordability through collaboration with property owners and operators and real estate professionals, particularly in multifamily housing whenever possible.
There's a motion on the floor.
Second.
Motion, Councilmember Lamb has moved to put her motion on the floor. It has been seconded by Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos. Councilmember Matthews, your light was on next.
Oh, I had it on for my motion, but I can speak to this. This is, we just heard public comment about this very issue, displacement and I think maintaining NOAA, which I love that acronym. I know you're not an acronym person, but I think this is valuable.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos?
Yes, definitely in light of the key apartments, which I remember reared up before as we almost lost them when I was in council the first time. And I will say that as I listened to that very, very moving public comment, all I could think about was the fact that the development that's obviously going to go in there now is exactly the kind of development that I'm arguing so much against. These up zones that we're putting downtown, that is what we're encouraging. We are encouraging maximizing profits. And that is what's going to happen at Key. And those people will be gone.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos. Councilmember Nelson?
Yeah, I'm supportive of this motion. There was a lot of moving public comment on related to the key apartments, and I think this is definitely a direct response to that, and I really appreciate it. And I share the deputy mayor's concern that this will just get torn down and redeveloped into market rate apartments that will just not be affordable. And so I share those concerns, but I am supportive of this motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson. Councilmember Lant and Councilmember Scheider.
And thank you. This is kind of, for me, it's a test. I'm new, but I've been here a long time, but it feels like a test case for us to put our money where our mouth is. We talk about displacement. Something big is happening right now in real time. And how are we going to respond to it is how I see this motion plus a couple motions I'll be making right after this.
Councilor Scheider, then Councilmember Huntley Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm absolutely going to support this motion. It just leaves me wondering what tools we have to help. I'm going to propose one that you'll probably hear me proposing over and over and over again, which is what about offering incentives for deed restricting the growth, of the units but not income qualifying them. So they will stay affordable relative to anything else around. But you also won't likely have anybody buying them as an investment because they're not going to grow according to market rate. So anyway, it might be something that we could afford to offer, where there's a huge public benefit, but sort of low maintenance, and people can, of any income level that want to invest in it as a home, can continue to invest in it. Now, I understand these are rentals, but they could still be purchased deed restricted and then rented out. So yes, I will support.
Thank you, Councilman Scheider. Councilor Huntley Johnson.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I would support this also. It was very moving to hear the comments and to know the people that live there, to know that, they over at Island Fitness helped me to do a number of things that I was able to do. And I remember the Madison housing that fell under the same kind of problem. The only difference was that we, as a city, got wind of it before it sold. And we were able to arrange protests and things like that before I was on the council. And that's when one of the housing groups stepped in to try to help to make some of those units affordable. And that's what we have on Madison now. Some of those units are affordable. This will go far to help people in this situation. I just don't know what we can do now that it's already sold. And I'm real sad about that we are letting this happen to our people who live here, and they're being forced to move. To have the rug just pulled right out of you one day, and now you got to pack up and go. I know what that feels like. So we need to be really conscious of the actions that we're taking in this element. What sounds like good ideas is really affecting people. And we really don't need a string of people coming in here telling us that. When we tell you it's affecting people, all the actions we take is affecting people. So think about that. I'm going to support it.
Thank you, Councilmember Pamela Johnson. Any other comments? Well, this is all the heartfelt comments. This is very close to me. It was the first place I lived when I moved to Bainbridge Island in 1997. So it's been almost 30 years since that happened. And I was in the unit that used to be next to the tennis courts. Now it's the rowing center. And I really like the sound of tennis balls bouncing around because I was a tennis player. But it was a very affordable place. People would come to my place and go, nothing's in your refrigerator. I go, my refrigerator across the street at TNC. I mean, as a single person, it was easy just to buy what I needed. It was just a lovely place to live and walk through Waterfront Park to get to the ferry and all of that. And a lot of memories of that place. So I personally have a strong attachment to that place. I think I was there almost 10 years. So I listened with earnestness of from the people who spoke tonight. So having said that, any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion was voted 6-0, and the chair votes aye, 7-0. You have a motion? I mean, a motion.
Yep, I have a motion.
Thank you.
So I was actually glad when interim city manager moved one of the items that would refer to this to a later meeting so that hopefully this motion, if it passes, will inform some of their work so that they can finish it, finishing the maps and give us some more data. We've heard many public commenters in our community this evening speak about this. I know we also got lots of emails. The February land capacity analysis is the only one that confidently demonstrates sufficient capacity to be judged as compliant within our multifamily housing targets. And I think we can't do our job as a council and turn in a non-compliant plan. The city's own 2019 Eco Northwest report recommended a maximum bonus FAR of 3.0 for High School Road and 4.5 for both the ferry and central core zones. Writing, our analysis found the current base and incentive zoning parameters are the primary barrier to the incentives working effectively. 90% of our island is a conservation zone, and in order to protect those areas, we were focused most on our island's potential growth in the downtown core. Raising the base FAR in the Winslow area is precisely how the council can steer consumption of our remaining aquifer capacity towards the most water efficient types of housing. Number 2 on our list on that wall is promoting affordable housing. We have spent the last few years having a community conversation on how and where to grow, and I am grateful for all of our community members who have lended their voices to this process. At a recent meeting, we reduced bonus FAR to 2.5, going against the Planning Commission's recommendations. At their recent meeting, in which they passed the plan on to us, they also passed a motion asking us to reconsider this change. At the time, our colleague who crafted the motion said that 2.5 FAR was enough to make projects like 625 happen, and we all voted for it. But what happened is 2.5 is not enough to make most affordable housing projects pencil. It barely works for its 625 because the city, in fact, owns the land. I wish there were Legos or a life-size model that showed us how minimal the actual difference is between 0.5 and 1 base FAR. But the policy memo, because it does a good job of articulating what we are trying to achieve and the steps we need to take to achieve it. Let's stop putting up barriers and restrictions like design review, protecting transition areas, and matching landscaping. Stop increasing cost and adding time and red tape and get to building housing for folks who need it. Enough is enough, and the time is now. The jobs numbers came out last week. We're down another 8,000 jobs in Washington, and building permits are an all-time low. This is not how we increase affordability. Let's make the meaningful change we are keep talking about here on Bainbridge Island. And so now I have a motion. I move to restore all development regulations in Ordinance 2026-05 to their values used during the February land capacity analysis, including base FAR of 1.0 in the Central Core, Ferry, and High School Road zones.
Point of order.
But the motion,
I'll second.
yeah, now we have a motion on the floor. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
This motion relates to the item that was pulled.
So it does.
No, let's keep cautious on crosstalk, please. So you have a statement on this?
Yes, staff asked to, the city manager asked to pull the item. It will be coming back. We have been told we're going to be receiving a revised memorandum in association with that. It is premature to have this conversation. It is coming back. So this right in front of us right now is the housing element, not the actual development code. That is coming back to us.
I think that it's important to do this.
Councilmember Matthews, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, in the housing element, because this gives staff the direction they need to actually do that agenda item. That's why we had the blank pages, and that's why we're waiting for council's direction. So the time is now.
Councilmember Fallon Johnson.
Yeah, I'm going to support this. I think the item that was pulled was the memo, not the actual housing element. The memo was pulled. And so, it is time to quit playing around. It is. It truly is.
Councilmember Fallon Johnson, thank you very much. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
So the code is pulled as well. It's part of the same element. If, the votes are going to happen, the votes are going to go where they're going to go, but it is inappropriate to move this forward right now when we don't even have the opportunity to have the analysis that we were supposed to have that was not clear. There are questions. There's still time to do this. So what's the reason to rush it when we're going to have a revised memorandum with the code and a better understanding of why it is that the changes happened, the changes that happened with regards to I always want to say uptake rate, but utilization rate, et cetera. So from a process perspective, nothing's going to change whether or not how this council votes, other than the fact that we would have the item in front of us with the revised memorandum.
Councilmember Lant and Councilmember Matthews, then Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor. I am not comfortable voting on that motion again because it was pulled by the interim city manager for good reason, and I don't know the reasons why it was pulled, but it was. And without having an updated, information and documentation in front of us, I'm happy to discuss this at a later date, but right now without the information, it was pulled, and that is very striking to me, so I'm not going to touch this right now.
Councilor Matthews, then.
Yeah, so if you read the memo, they actually are looking for direction from us to fill this out, to fulfill this. So maybe we can hear from staff, or I think the time is now. You can make any motion at any time in a meeting. So there's no sort of restrictions on motions that you can make as a body. And this is one that moves this forward and helps staff to get this done and get us the information we need.
Thank you, Councilor Matthews, Councilor Nelson, then Councilmember Scheider.
Yeah, from a Robert's Rules of Order standpoint, we can only consider items that are on the agenda. And this is a direct amendment to the development regulations. And this agenda item was pulled from the agenda because the information in the land capacity analysis was incomplete and not up to the city manager's standards. I don't think it's appropriate that we vote on this at this point. And so I move to table the motion until the development regulations are brought back for consideration by the city council.
Table motion, not debatable. Can't discuss. It is either up or down. What you're indicating by a table motion is to turn it down and continue discussion. You want to end discussion, you vote yay. So all those in favor?
Yes.
I think everybody's mic's shut up. Mike, is your mic on? Okay, all right. I'll repeat what I said. Table motions are non-debatable. This simply says that you end debate. If you want to end debate, you vote yay. If you want to continue discussion, you vote nay. So all in favor of the table motion, please say aye.
Aye.
We have 3 yay and nays, please. The votes are 3 yay and 3 nay, and the chair votes nay. So we continue. So it's Councilmember Scheider, then I believe Councilmember Franklin Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I think that it has to be, I think we have the ability to express a new direction from council. We're responding to the Planning Commission, and we voted on this before, and I personally am changing my vote. So if it comes to the regulations and we want to change our minds again, we can do that with new information. So I think that this is appropriate and I will vote aye.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos and Councilmember Nelson, then Councilmember Lamb.
So we're,
I guess,
Oh.
sorry, I was next.
Oh, no, wait, sorry. Councilmember Fowler Johnson was
Thank
next.
you.
And then Deputy Mayor. Thank you.
I would like to hear from the interim city manager why the memo specifically was pulled.
Thank you for the opportunity to clarify. It came to my attention that information in the memo was perhaps misleading about how we got from the February land capacity analysis to the May, June analysis. The February analysis was not based on motions of the Planning Commission, but was informed by motions of the Planning Commission. It was based on information developed by staff based on their professional information and recommendations. The land capacity analysis that was prepared based on that provided the information that you see in tables 2 and 5. There was then a number of many Planning Commission meetings, lots of motions, lots of changes. And the information in the memo suggests, when I think a fair reading really just has 1 point in February and 1 point in May that are the points that are compared. I believe that the information contained is accurate. The explanation could be better.
So if I can
Yeah,
respond.
please.
So it really looks like you pulled it because they didn't follow specifically Planning Commission direction. And what this motion is to put it back to what the Planning Commission directed.
Interim Deputy Mayor.
The information that was contained in the February land capacity analysis was not directly moved and, based on a Planning Commission motion. It was informed by Planning Commission work and then modified by staff in an intent to move the city and the Planning Commission towards compliance with the Growth Management Act. So that's where we started in February, and it's documented in tables 2 and 5. You can see exactly what the assumptions were that were used in that analysis. The analysis that's then done it's called June in here, but that's because that's when we delivered it to the consultant, but was based on a May 21st Planning Commission motion and set of motions. And so that information does indeed represent their best current estimate of what the number of units that would be produced is. The part that I was uncomfortable with in terms of the information that staff provided to you is that explanation of how we got from 1 point to the next. I want to be clear and complete in that, and the memo as it currently stands doesn't do that as well as it could.
Councilmember Johnson, if you would. Thank you. And my apologies for getting the order there. I was not.
That's okay.
I'm kind of like herding well-behaved cats here, so thank you. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, then Councilmember Nelson.
First of all, my understanding is that there's more to it than that as well. And I'm not faulting the city manager for not getting to that. But I mean, I believe that what happened in between, it's a lot more than just the issue we've already discussed here, which is the fact that staff or LMN, somebody created the numbers that went in February. It was not based on a commission vote. We already know that. We've already discussed that. Some of us are more concerned than others. But there were many things in between. There were other motions. There were other things presented to the commission that are not adequate or not accurately characterized in the memorandum, including the question of whether there'd been an interim land capacity analysis, and if so, who did it, or if it was the back of the envelope, et cetera. So there's a number of things missing from that memoranda. Where I wanted to go with this is just we're talking about this piecemeal that concerns me, but I want to go back to this idea that when this was actually in front of the Planning Commission the last time, when they made their final changes, they fine-tuned their zoning recommendation to precisely what they needed. They were not saying they just wanted to have these flat numbers. They worked within tenths of a FAR to try to fine-tune to meet the gap. What we're doing right now is we're just willy-nilly, based obviously on requests from the community, rather than making our own policy decisions or listening directly to the Planning Commission. 1.0 FAR base, 3 and 4, without any understanding as a body of what that translates to. And I will go back to the fact that, again, we asked as a council from before we even started this endeavor, we asked to see representations of what 3.0 FAR, 4.0 FAR would look like in various areas. We have yet to do that. But here we are throwing these numbers around because we're being told by some people that that's what they would like us to do. And that is not good planning. And above all, when this apparently inevitably passes, I'm going to continue to ask absolutely to understand what that translated into with regards to ultimate capacity, because this is reckless.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilmember Nelson, then Councilmember Matthews.
Yep. I'll just pause the question.
Yeah. So I just really want to point out that the motion here is to amend the development regulations to conform with the February land capacity analysis. And as the interim city manager pointed out, that is not what the Planning Commission recommended at all. And I'm going to give a very important example here, which is lot coverage. In the February land capacity analysis, for instance, it changed lot coverage in Ferry to 100% when it's currently 75. It changed lot coverage to 75 in high school when it's currently 50. And these were things that the Planning Commission specifically decided not to change. And so this is going completely against what the Planning Commission recommended. And I think they were very thoughtful in taking what was the May land capacity analysis and saying we have a 64 unit gap and keying the development regulations to get to compliance. But now we're dealing with a moving goalpost because all of a sudden this most recent one shows a larger gap because they changed the utilization rate. I really think we need more information, and we need to know what the utilization rate should be, especially considering the information that Commerce just gave us, that it can include potential participation by nonprofits. And so I just want to make very clear that if you vote for this motion, you are voting to increase lot coverage to 100% in the Ferry Zone, in addition to increasing base FAR and max FAR. So we're not doing what the Planning Commission was recommending at all. This is something very different. This is what staff had created outside of any deliberative process. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson, Councilmember Matthews, then
Okay,
Councilmember
and
Land.
that's my last, and then we'll just call the question. Planning Commission asked us to reconsider a bunch of these. And this was something that staff had already put in, and for whatever reasons, we don't need to rehash that or relitigate it. It was the right thing to be in the plan. It wasn't right then because we needed a chance to discuss it, which we have at length. This is going to inform the rest of the work that staff is able to do. And this will make the rest of their work so much easier. We won't have a blank page there. They'll be able to fill out the rest of the land capacity analysis. They'll be able to understand where the gaps were. If you look in the memo, it keeps saying, we need this information. This is going to be informed by this information. So we are giving it this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember Matthews. Councilmember Land, then Councilmember Schreiber.
Thank you. I too have been sitting in on all those planning commission meetings, and there was quite a bit of conversation about how to achieve exactly the numbers that we were hoping, required to achieve. There was really big numbers thrown out, then they were scaled back. Then there were some different levers being pulled, and some of those were considered. I don't think it's relitigating to say this was not a slam dunk. This was a lot of discussion. And at the end of the day, the Planning Commission was trying to get us across the finish line, just like we're trying to do right now. At this moment in time, if any person from any citizen came to us and said, give me the breadcrumb trail that led you to this decision, I don't think any one of us could actually say with all certainty that saying yes to this motion is the end of the breadcrumb trail. There was a lot of lefts, rights, ups and downs to this conversation. And again, the fact that this information was pulled, no, it was pulled. There's reasons for it being pulled. And I'm very I know that the information that will come back to us will be the information we need to make a choice at a later date, but not right now.
Thank you, Councilmember Lanton. Before I recognize Councilmember Schreider, then Councilmember Nelson, I would ask my colleagues to focus comments on new information. I think we understand the positions where people are and some of the arguments for and against. I would encourage, please just don't find a different way to say it. Let's continue this conversation and move it forward in a constructive way that adds new information to our decision-making process. Councilmember Schreider, then Councilmember Nelson, you took your hand down. Did you want to speak after? Okay. No. Okay. And then Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I appreciate the focus on new information. I am not providing that new information. I'm requesting it. I remember watching the Planning Commission meeting when there was a very heartfelt request to ask the council to reconsider. And isn't there a way that we can pull up what the Planning Commission asked us to reconsider? If it's not exactly what we're being asked to do right now, then maybe we can amend it. Is there a chance that we can see?
I can pull it up.
Wait. You weren't recognized. So continue.
I just want to know what the Planning Commission most recently has asked us to reconsider, because I remember hearing them ask us to do that.
Thank you, Councilman Schreider, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, then Councilmember Nelson.
So we've been here before, and where we were and right before we were there, the Planning Commission was there, where they were provided black and white choices of this or this, and were told they could not create an alternative. And that is where they were stuck. It was discovered that what was in the land capacity analysis was something that they had not voted for, that had been created by staff or the consultants. And they were, when they asked the question, when they were confronted with, well, what can we do? They were told they could do that option, or that's the other option. I think it was that they had before or whatever. And when they were asked if there was staff capacity for them to do any more work on this, they were told no. So they were stuck. And what they asked us, they weren't united. They went back and forth. If you remember, this was a series of like 5 motions or something, failed and failed and failed, trying to figure out what to do with being in this situation, because they weren't all on the same page and that they couldn't come and create another alternative. They didn't come here united and asked us to confirm the staff alternative. They asked us to just answer the question because they were told they basically couldn't. So when that came here, some of us at least were trying to point out that we're not hamstrung by that, right? We can create options. We're the city council. What is happening right now is that the way this item was originally set up on the agenda is we would have the land capacity analysis, we would have the code, we could have a conversation, an intelligent conversation where people could make motions like, hey, maybe we're not quite ready to decide on the code because we'd like to, for example, go back and say, oh, really? Might you have a different participation rate if nonprofits are involved? Is there anywhere in here we can get an improvement to the land capacity analysis? It's not our job to receive that last land capacity analysis and have no questions or concerns and simply do whatever this is, which this motion on the table is not actually exactly the solution. It's a solution that existed in the past that's being put forward as just a blanket solution. So that's what I would say about it. I would say that we've been deprived of any actual process that was set up today when this item was pulled from the agenda and moved forward. We would later come forward with hopefully a clear land capacity analysis, the ability to ask questions, even the ability to ask for something else to be run to tweak that. That's all just being swept away by a motion that feels an awful lot like, hey, we got the votes and we're tired of waiting. So we're just going to vote tonight, regardless of what's on the agenda.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos. Councilmember Nelson, then Councilmember Land, then Member Hytopoulos.
Yeah, and thank you, Mayor. And this is
Councilmember Johnson. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, am I recognized, Mayor?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, and this is new information because specifically, and you see the motion on the screen, what we were asked by the Planning Commission to do, and it was a motion by Commissioner Dinez, was to reconsider specifically max FAR and to reconsider whether max FAR should be 3.0 in high school and 4.0 in Ferry. We were not asked to also increase base FAR to 1.0. We were not asked to also increase lot coverage across the board. So this is a very specific request from the Planning Commission, which I think we should be voting on that as opposed to this blanket motion that takes us back to the February land capacity analysis that wasn't based off of Planning Commission recommendations. So so again, this is the specific request from the Planning Commission. And I think we should be responding to that and not this broader sort of sledgehammer of a motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson, Councilmember Lant, then Councilmember Franklin Johnson, then Councilmember Matthews.
Thanks, Mayor. And I agree with that, Councilmember Nelson. I also just want to point out also that, again, I mean, the motion is the motion, the vote is the vote, but this carried 4-0. And it's a 7-person commission. The commissioner abstained. I mean, the Commissioner Blossom actually abstained from this motion, from this vote. So this wasn't a slam dunk even then. So to bring it forward now in this way, I find is without the information that we could have been considering to actually talk about it. I just don't think it's right that we do this right now. I just don't.
Thank you, Councilmember Lant, Councilmember Franklin Johnson, then Councilmember Matthews.
Why don't we just start over and start the meeting over and just continue going till like 12 o'clock on this one issue? Why don't we just do that? Because this is just crazy. You know, it's ping ponging it back and forth. 1 minute you say, no, it was a tie when they voted. Now it's like, oh, well, one person abstained, so let's just throw it all away, you know? And it's what's obvious is that what we're trying to do is follow the Planning Commission's direction. This is what everybody is saying we should do. You've said that over and over. All of us have said that. And now that we're trying to do that, it's like, well, no, we didn't really mean that. We didn't mean it for this one or that one. Or let's parse it out and say, no, let's do 1 point far and let's have no parking. Let's just keep picking it apart until tomorrow. This is ridiculous, people.
Thank you, Deputy. Thank you.
Yeah. Last
Councilmember
comment,
Johnson and
call the
Councilmember
vote.
Matthews.
Because we've each had 2. So, and in reminder about the base FAR at 1, Planning Commission also passed to that. It was 4 to 3, no, 4 to, it kept going back and forth with them, the majority, and then not a majority wanting us to revert to 1.0 base FAR. So that also came from Planning Commission at 2 meetings before. So that we're clear, and so this is not just the base FAR. So with that.
Thank you, Councilmember Matthews and Deputy Mayor Hatopoulos, and I would like to end debate at this point.
This is,
Go ahead.
this is only, I just want to check with the city attorney about the appropriateness of this motion to amend the development code when the development code was removed from the agenda.
Good evening, Andrew Soming, City Attorney. So I think there's a kind of a couple of potential dimensions here. First is from an OPMA issue. I do recognize this is a special meeting, but this ordinance 2026-05 was noted on the special meeting. So I believe from an OPMA perspective, it would be appropriate for council to consider and vote on this matter, even though it was pulled from the agenda. From a Robert's Rules perspective, my understanding was that council voted on a motion to table. It failed, so we're proceeding with this motion at this point. So,
Mayor Hatopoulos, we're going to try to close this. All right. Thank you, everyone. So we have a motion on the floor. I think we're pretty clear because we talked about it a lot. So all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed?
Nay.
Vote is 3-3. The chair votes aye. Did you say any votes? Mike, could you turn your mic off, please? Thank you. Councilmembers Nelson, Councilmembers Land, and Deputy Mayor Hatopoulos. All right. So moving to regular business item 6B, consider Winslow sub-area plan and ordinance number 2026. Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you. I still have 2 more motions for housing.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. If I'm recognized, I'll
Oh, yeah,
make it.
my
Thank you so much.
apologies.
No, that's all right. Okay, so I have so this is in the housing element. This is page HO 11. It's a new policy, so don't look for it. My new policy states, consider developing policies and programs to assist residents displaced by redevelopment, increasing property taxes, or the loss of affordable housing, with the goal of helping affected households remain in the community whenever possible.
That is a motion. Is there a second to this motion?
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson. Discussion. Councilmember Lamb.
Displacement.
All right. Well, seeing no discussion, I will call the question. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Vote is 6-0. The chair votes aye. This motion passes.
Thank you. And if you recognize me, I'll give you my last motion. Thank you. And just a little background on this. This is another new policy. This would be HO 2.5. This is regarding algorithmic rent setting software. Algorithmic rent setting software undermines independent competition in the rental market, and it contributes to higher rents. And these systems effectively align pricing across multiple landlords by using shared data and common recommendations, which reduces the true market competition and the functioning in a way that can resemble coordinated pricing. So in a housing market already facing severe affordability pressures, this technology is helping drive rent increases and should be prohibited to ensure landlords set rents independently and competitively. Already, jurisdictions enacting ordinances like this include San Francisco, Berkeley, Minneapolis, Philadelphia, San Diego, Jersey City. Seattle just passed this legislation, which will be going into effect this year. My motion is this: consider prohibiting the use of rent pricing software and algorithmic rent setting systems that use non-public or aggregated market data or automated pricing recommendations to set or influence residential rental rates as part of the city's efforts to protect housing affordability, consistent with similar policies adopted in other jurisdictions.
Second.
Orlando's forward.
I guess
Wait, one moment. I think I heard Councilmember Nelson do the second.
Yeah,
And
I
then-
seconded.
Yeah.
Did you
And
second?
then Councilmember Frontline Johnson and Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I guess I would like to know enforcement and legality of this. Has it been tested, I guess is what.
I think at this time, the policy is to develop a policy or to develop a program. So we would need to assess the enforcement mechanism and bring back to council ways that we believe we can do that. At that time, we would definitely work with the city attorney to make sure that any program that we bring to you would conform with applicable law.
Councilmember Frontline Johnson?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor.
So, I mean, I of course would love to do this. That's easy. And I get that it's consider, but I don't have an interest in putting something this specific in the code unless I hear from the city attorney that he doesn't have any reason to believe that there's an issue here. I mean, I don't want to put something patently illegal in our, I almost said code, in our comp plan. I mean, so I don't know enough to know whether this is something that's feasible.
Question directed to the city attorney.
All right, good evening again, Andrew Soming, City Attorney. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to evaluate this, but as Councilmember Lant did mention, I am familiar with somewhat similar regulations with the City of Seattle. I'm unaware if there's any sort of current challenges, but happy to look into this issue a little further.
Thank you. Counselor? Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The vote was 5-0, and the chair votes aye, 6-0, and Councilmember Frontline Johnson's excused from the vote. Any other further motion, Councilmember Nelson?
Yeah, I have one other motion I want to make, which is around the capacity, or around the utilization rates for the capacity analysis in light of the information from Commerce around nonprofits. So I move to direct the interim city manager to direct staff to work with our consultant to reevaluate the utilization rates for the voluntary inclusionary zoning program to include potential participation by nonprofits.
Motion by Council.
Second.
And Councilmember Lamb seconds. Mike, could you, there, thank you, Mike. Yeah. Okay. I see no lights on, no further discussion. Okay. Going once, going twice. Okay. So I will call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Vote is 5-0. The chair votes aye, and Councilmember Fallon Johnson is excused. Any further motions from
One more quick
Councilmember
one.
Matthews?
So page HO 16. This is a proposed new policy, HO 8.6, about increasing accessible multifamily housing in Winslow. This is a comment we've heard from one of our constituents pretty frequently. So I'll read that. I move to add a policy HO 8.6 that reads as follows: encourage the development of multifamily housing with 4 or more units in the Winslow area, recognizing that such housing advances accessibility goals in 2 distinctive ways. First, by locating residents within walkable and rollable distance of jobs, services, and social opportunities. And second, by triggering Fair Housing Act design requirements that ensure baseline accessible design standards for ground floor and elevator served units. The city shall consider accessibility outcomes along with affordability and housing supply outcomes when evaluating density, height, and FAR standards in Winslow.
Councilmember Matthews has a long motion on. There's a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Councilmember Fallon Johnson. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, then Councilmember Scheider.
I don't understand how this, like, where this fits in. Like, what is missing that this is affecting, and what does this mean for different zoning areas? Or I don't understand it.
Well,
Can I answer or no?
Councilmember Matthews, you can respond.
So the comp plan already addresses accessibility in several places in HO 3.6 and 8.3 within new construction, and it calls for promoting accessible housing in designated centers. However, none of them explicitly make the connection between multifamily density in Winslow and accessible outcomes. So we have it in other places.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I think I need to hear the motion again, because I thought it was an addition of 4 plexes basically. So I thought, what is that? This is just about
multifamily.
Okay, it's just about accessibility. So
Yep.
could you read it again?
Sure.
Yeah, okay,
So,
Councilmember Matthews.
encourage the development of multifamily housing that has 4 or more units to locate or trigger by, okay. Encourage the development of multifamily housing with 4 or more units in the Winslow area, recognizing that such housing advances accessibility goals in 2 distinct ways. First, by locating residents within walkable and rollable distance of jobs, services, and social opportunities. And second, by triggering Fair Housing Act design requirements that ensure baseline accessible design standards for ground floor and elevator served units. The city shall consider accessibility outcomes alongside affordability and housing supply outcomes when evaluating density, height, and FAR standards. So basically got.
That motion already has been moved and seconded. Councilman Scheider, you did have your light on.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to jump in here. That's a lot.
Yeah.
And so just having sat in meetings with nonprofit developers, having an elevator is just kind of makes it a whole new game from an affordability point of view. So as much as I want to, there's all kinds of accessibility, right? But if accessibility requires an elevator, it's going to mean we have a lot less multifamily housing. So yeah, I don't think I could support it without really diving into it more.
Councilman Matthews withdraws a motion. Right. Councilors, we have 3 minutes left in this discussion. If there are more, I can add 10 more minutes, or are we good? Is that the last motion?
Staff would appreciate a motion to move this item forward as amended.
Please, would someone do the honors?
I make a motion that we move this element forward.
Thank you, Councilor Fallon Johnson, and seconded by Councilor Lamb. Any further discussion?
Okay, say it.
Okay, so
Councilor Matthews, your mic is not on.
I move we approve revisions to the housing element of the comprehensive plan for inclusion in the final public hearing draft of the comprehensive plan update.
Councilmember Frontline Johnson,
Second.
remove her motion and second it. You did kill two birds with one motion. Thank you. Any further discussion on this? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Councilmember Nelson, are you present? Seeing him not, we have 5 votes yea. I'll call him excused. Or yeah, so it's 6-1 or 6-0. Thank you. Thank you, councilors, and we got it under the wire with a minute and a half, so very good. All right, moving to item number 6B, considering Winslow Sub-Area Plan and Ordinance number 2026-04.
Good evening, Council. Ellen Schroer, Interim City Manager. The item before you is your first discussion of the Winslow Sub-Area Plan. This is a key component of our comprehensive plan update, and also an ordinance that enacts that plan. We are asking today for your discussion here to support that, and we'll bring this back to a future meeting for further consideration and inclusion in the comprehensive plan update. Planning Manager Darren Cannon is here also to support your discussion.
Good evening, Council. Darren Buchanan, Planning Manager. Tonight before you is the Winslow Sub-Area Plan and the accompanying Ordinance 2624. The Planning Commission discussed the land use boundaries and the development standards for the Winslow Sub-Area Plan throughout the majority of 2025. They primarily discussed the existing mixed-use district areas as well as the residential zones that are immediately adjacent to those areas. Discussion, review, and preliminary recommendations were provided on the goals and policies of the Winslow sub-area as well. Planning Commission provided the final recommendations on May 21st of this year. One item to note, the draft Winslow land use and zoning map that was included in the council packet back on June 2nd, it incorrectly showed Sakai Park listed as High School Road Zone. That park is actually R8, and that correction has been made as well. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. Some other notable changes include the expansion of the Winslow sub-area boundary to align with the city's sewer service area, as well as include the Finch Green properties in the Winslow sub-area. The consolidation of the Erickson, Madison, and Gateway zones into a new zone labeled the Connection Zone, as well as the 4 mixed-use districts that consist of Central, Core, Ferry, and Central, Core, Ferry, Connection, and High School Road. They all now will be collectively called the Winslow Town Center. This will replace the term that was used as mixed-use town center previously. A new Winslow Way overlay district as well was created to ensure new buildings have more specific setbacks as well as stepbacks, as outlined in the BIMC, which will be shown when the development regulations are presented. The city's Winslow sub-area plan consultants have drafted an updated formatted draft Winslow sub-area plan. Currently, the reformatted document describes the Winslow sub-area project process, the existing conditions, the planning framework, as well as it describes the outreach and engagement in the first phases of the project. Once the City Council approves a final land use alternative updates to the goals and policies, then that information will be added to the final updated Winslow sub-area plan as well.
Very good. And to follow our previous plan, we'll start at the end of the dais. I see that council members Scheiderer, Lant, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, and Councilmember Nelson have some suggestion motions. So I'll go down and be in the order of Councilmember Scheiderer, then Councilmember Lant, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, then Councilmember Nelson, and go back and start over. And one motion per person at that time. Councilmember Scheiderer.
Thank you, Mayor. Compared to all the work we've done before, this one is going to be light and frothy, but at the same time, very, very important to me. Regarding page 13, goal OS1, it is currently stating incorporate open space and green spaces throughout Winslow by, and then there's bullet points. I move to change the Winslow sub-area plan goal OS1 to strengthen and expand the community's network of open spaces, parks, gathering places, and trails to support recreation, ecological health, and a strong sense of place throughout Winslow. Create welcoming gathering spaces that offer a variety of activities that attract a diversity of ages, that foster connection, belonging, and cultural expression, and serve as focal points for neighborhood life. The rest of the bullet points are the same.
Motion has been proposed. Is there a second?
Second?
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos has seconded Councilmember Scheider's motion. Councilmember Scheider. Oh, okay. Any further discussion? Councilmember Franklin Johnson.
Yeah, I like to strengthen and expand. So, open spaces. How can you not vote for that? Right? So I support this motion.
Any further discussion? Don't see a hand up, no lights. I'll call for a question. All those say, please, in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? That is 6-0, and the chair votes aye, passes 7-0. Councilmember Lant.
Thank you very much. Winslow Sub-Area Plans and Goals, this is page 1. It's a new policy. It's immediately after policy LU1A. This is a motion in response to some requests from residents regarding upzoning the area where they live, which they are in the R0.4 zoning district, and they're also on municipal water and sewer. So I move to prioritize Planning Commission review of areas within the Winslow sub-area that are zoned R0.4 and served by city water and sewer, to identify and implement opportunities for increased residential density, including affordable and middle housing options.
Second.
So motion from Councilmember Lant, seconded by Councilmember Matthews. Any discussion from members? Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Yeah, unfortunately, I can't vote for this because it's just adding more capacity, more housing that we don't have capacity for. Of course, I get it from a planning perspective, but until we have a plan for sewer in particular, I couldn't support that.
Any further discussion? See no lights, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Wait.
Oh, Councilman Scheider, sorry.
Thank you. I just wanted to request that Councilmember Lance speak to it a little bit more, sort of the why.
Okay, Councilman, thank you, Councilman Scheider. Councilmember Lant, you're
You bet, absolutely. So the why is this, is that there are not quite a dozen properties that are located across from Copper Top, north of the schools. And some of the properties are quite small, some are larger, a couple acres to maybe a quarter of an acre. All of these properties are zoned 0.4. All of these properties are on municipal water and sewer. They're newly brought into the Winslow sub-area. They have the boundaries shifted by the Planning Commission recommendations. So they are now in the Winslow sub-area, and I believe they are the only properties zoned 0.4 on water and sewer, zoned with that density level. So what I'm hoping to do is that the Planning Commission prioritizes review of these properties and discusses upzoning. This seems very appropriate to me for upzoning. Does that give you some info?
Very good. For discussion, we halted the vote. Let's repeat that vote. I see no further lights on. All in favor of the motion by Councilmember Lant, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
I see 4 yeas and 2 nays. The chair votes aye. That'd be 5-2 with Councilmember Mike Nelson and Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos dissenting. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
All right, so my first motion has to do with reinserting some transition standards between zones of intensity and less intense zones. And basically, again, this isn't new. It's basically restoring some sections that got lost in the redo, and particularly WMP 2.5 and 2.10.7. And to that end, I move to add a new policy LU4B after policy LU4A, combining the language of the deleted policies that I just referenced to read as follows. Policy LU4E would read, establish and maintain transition standards for all boundaries where mixed-use districts abut less intense residential districts, such as landscape buffers, lower height limits, and small-scale buildings, and other appropriate measures.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos has put in motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Lant is seconded. Councilmember Brownell Johnson slide was on, and then Deputy Mayor Hightower.
I just need the page of where we're talking about here.
Sorry about that. I actually have it on. I handed you guys all out, all my motions, sorry, and it says on there, page 2, which I didn't read to you. Yep, so you can look at it all there and yeah.
Okay, thank you. I didn't see that little 2.
Thank you for being so prepared, Deputy Mayor Hightower. Appreciate that. Deputy Mayor Hightower.
So I just want to say, I mean, this is just sort of fundamental basic planning. It's always been part of our planning, and I would assume any city that's trying to plan is trying to make sure that you don't, if you have intense, like big major intensity differences between zones, that there's some sort of a softening between them. So I don't, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hightower. Councilmember Nelson.
Oh, I was just asking what it was about, and I understand now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson. Deputy Mayor Hightower. Councilmember Matthews.
Thanks, Mayor. So my only concern with this is that it's another barrier or increased cost for a developer changing the project. I think they're all developers who work at our community are very sensitive to this already. Looking at all of the recent things I've seen, there's nothing that's out of step. So I think this might be adding to making things less affordable and making things take longer. And so I don't support it.
Thank you, Councilmember Matthews. Councilmember Lent and Deputy Mayor Hightower. Then Councilmember Brownell Johnson.
I think we made some fairly substantial changes earlier today, and if we can't take a little bit of a, transition standards in between the spaces and places that we've just allowed to happen, it's not asking for much. And I don't think it's a barrier frankly, I don't think it's a barrier. I think it's something that adds to the neighborhood. It adds to the development. It adds to the community. It doesn't take away. That's my thought. I absolutely support this.
Deputy Mayor Hightower, then Councilmember Brownell Johnson, then Councilmember Scheider.
I would just say that, first of all, who's going to be building these new developments that we're going to have in Winslow are very unlikely to be local people, very unlikely. They're going to be from all over. So we shouldn't be hoping for just generosity in protecting adjacent areas and making projects look good. We've always said that with increased FAR, that we would do whatever we could to make sure that it blends well into the community, that adjacent uses are protected, et cetera, whether it's step backed or whether it's, and so in particular in the transition area, et cetera, we're going to have some of these uses confront each other. And I don't think that most of these situations are going to be affordable housing projects. So I'm not too worried about the fact that it might cost a little more for a market rate developer to put some vegetation in.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hightower. Councilmember Brownell Johnson, then Councilmember Scheider.
Can I ask why this was removed?
That question was to staff.
Sorry.
Good evening, councils. Jennifer Sutton, Senior Planner. It was removed because the city's landscaping standards in BIMC 1815-010 already have landscape perimeter buffers between mixed use or commercial zoning and adjacent residential zoning of varying width, depending, so the business industrial zone, as an example, has a wider and more planted width to adjacent residential zones than the central core zones, but we already have those perimeter buffer standards in place.
Councilmember Brownell Johnson.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownell Johnson. Councilmember Scheider, then Deputy Mayor Hightower.
So I would say is what we.
No, wait, Councilmember Scheider is next, and then Deputy Mayor Hightower.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm assuming that some of these barriers referenced, it's not just landscaping, but I see also lower height limits and small scale buildings and other appropriate measures. So if it was just landscaping, I'd be fine with that. And it sounds like landscaping might already be taken care of. So I just am wondering about the lower height limits and small scale buildings. What does that even mean? And then you know, I think I could support an amended motion that says, consider transition standards for all boundaries where mixed-use districts abut less intense residential districts, and then just kind of leave it at that. Then we could have a discussion, or Planning Commission could have a discussion about what's needed in the particular transition zones. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Schroeder. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
So first of all, I just want to draw your attention to what was in which was in the sub-area plan previously, which is all of that same language, WMP 210-7. The city shall protect adjacent residential neighborhoods from adverse impacts by establishing transition standards such as landscape buffers, lower height limits, small scale buildings, and other appropriate measures. So the message to the community, as far as I'm concerned, taking that out at the same time that we triple the density in some of these areas is, I mean, why? I'd like to not, I mean, we may have certain standards now. We're now going to have some new situations that are very different. It goes to what Councilmember Lance just said. So there's no reason, there's nothing here that says anything has to be any of these things. It could be, these are examples of ways things are buffered, as was already in our our sub-area plan before, which are the ways that uses are buffered from each other. That's all that is. And this doesn't establish anything in particular, other than it says we're not removing something from the sub-area plan that is protective of these boundary areas unless there's a good reason. And we only have more of a reason to be protective.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos. Councilmember Lamb.
Thank you. And this question is for interim city manager. Thank you. So when there is something is codified, so currently there are perimeter standards that are codified. And there's currently, prior to deletion, there was something in the comp plan that supported the codification that's in our current code. If we take away something from our comp plan policies, even though it's in the code, something then at a later date can be deleted from the code and it's then doesn't exist anywhere ever. Versus if you're in the comp plan, it's a policy direction, and whether it gets into the code or not is the question. But the idea, the North Star, the direction is there. So if we remove something from the comp plan and we rely on the fact that it exists in the code, can we rely on that forever? Do we not need it in the comp plan?
Interim manager.
Thank you for the question. I would note that all changes to the code are passed by the council, so it would not go away from the code. It would not be deleted from the code without council action. If a future council decided to take that action, they certainly could do so. And so you can also amend the comp plan, but.
Thank you. So my point is that just because it's in the code doesn't mean it's there forever. And again, we come, we go, you come, you go. And at some point, a new group of people will be out there and this will not be in the code or the comp plan. And people will maybe look for a transitional standard in between, zoning things. So I absolutely support this.
Councilmember Lamb, the answer is blowing in the wind. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, then Councilmember Franklin Johnson.
Yeah, happy to be very brief. I mean, think of it, these are the values that we have and a vision that we have. And we wouldn't say, well, we did that, let's take it out. We did that, let's take it out, along lines what you're saying. This memorializes what we want it to look like. And you're absolutely right. Without any guidance as to how we got here or what we are trying to do, we don't even have anything for future councils to measure. So it's not just a checklist for us to then delete next time.
All right, I see no more lights, so I call discussion ending. I would entertain a vote. All in favor of this motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We have 1, 2, 3, 4 yeas, understand? And 2 nays, and that's 2 nays, and the chair votes nay, so that'll be 3 nays. Myself, Councilor Matthews, and Councilor Franklin Johnson dissenting. And now it's Councilmember Nelson's turn, I believe. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So page 1, policy LU 1.c. So I move to strike designate and add in its place consider designating.
Do I see a second?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos seconded. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, your light's still on. Would you want to discuss? Anyone? Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, just briefly, this mirrors the motion that I made with respect to the land use element. And it, again, just says we should consider designating the Winslow Town Center as a countywide growth center as opposed to designating it. I don't expect the motion to pass, but I need to lodge my objection here.
Okay, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Sorry, to your light.
Sorry.
Councilmember Lant.
Thank you. My only, I support this motion because I don't see any issue with giving some wiggle room to any of these urban growth, countywide growth center or other urban growth centers. Like when you throw in consider, it just gives us an option. Doesn't mean we're not going to be one once we make that option, known. But I love the idea that we have some wiggle room. So absolutely, I support consider designating.
Councilmember Nelson?
Yeah, and just briefly, this is just about local control. Again, I'm concerned about, the state taking away local control with all these mandates, and I don't see any reason why we would voluntarily local control by taking on this designation, and that's all.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson. Councilmember Matthews.
So I had spoken to this before. It does not have anything to do with local control, and I got that confirmed. So I just want us to stick with the facts sometimes. Yeah, that's all.
Thank you, Councilmember Matthews. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
And I'm just going to summarize. My feelings are absolutely, it's everything about a local control. It's about becoming a slowly boiling frog and regional planning mandates. Thank you.
Seeing no lights, I'll call for the question. All in favor of Councilman's motion, please say aye.
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 All those opposed?
Nay.
We have 3 yeas, 3 nays. The chair votes nay. The dissenting votes were Councilmember Lant, Councilmember Nelson, and those in favor. Councilmember Lant, Councilmember Nelson, and Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos. Councilmember Scheider, do you have another motion? Councilmember Lant.
I do. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor. Okay, so this motion is page 3. This is policy LU 5.H. And it's a very long policy. I am with several bullet points. I don't know if you want me to read them all, I will. However, all I'm doing is updating the second bullet point. The second bullet point actually says, coordinate with the business and marina communities to develop new facilities for visitors, residents in the community, including public road ends, beaches, concessions, docks, marinas, and mooring. I would like to add and public laundry.
Second.
The motion's made and pretty simple discussion. Who's against dirty clothes? So any other discussion here? No, Councilmember Nelson seconded. Yeah. All right. Seeing no further discussion. All those in favor of the Councilmember Nelson's motion, or Councilmember Lant's motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Vote is 6-0. Chair votes aye. 7-0. Motion passes. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Yeah. I have a second motion, or my second motion on page 8, which is, hopefully this is actually less concerning along the lines that concerns were expressed. It's similar because it has to do with protecting something as things are changing. And it also has to do with basically reinstituting some of the language from the original plan. And that is to preserve neighborhood-specific protections from deleted policies WMP 271, 291, 292, and 293. And I've got original language and crossed out on the next page, if you want to look at that, had to do with Erickson Overlay District, Gateway Overlay District. And basically in changing the formatting of those areas, some of these things were lost that should not arguably be problematic for development. I move to delete proposed policy LU 13A and add two new policies as 13A and 13B. So I hope I've got 13A in here. Sorry, it's been a while since we did this. I don't know if we could put that up. I'm just going to say what these are the policies would say. Policy LU 13A, development within the connection district east of 305, encompassing the former Gateway Overlay area, shall not degrade the natural character or ecological functions of the ravine and shall maintain pedestrian connectivity to the ferry terminal, waterfront, adjoining parcels, and neighborhoods. Policy LU 13B would state, within the portion of the connection district encompassing the former Erickson Overlay area, development standards and design review shall seek to preserve the unique and historical features of the Erickson Avenue neighborhood.
Second.
Okay.
So this motion contains two changes. Is that correct?
It basically is bringing back language from four provisions that were struck that were establishing the same concepts for the Erickson Overlay District and the Gateway. So they're trying to encourage the recognition of those neighborhood of what's special about those neighborhoods in whatever development happens there, right? One area, it has to do with the ravine and the waterfront, et cetera, and the other has to do with the historic nature of Erickson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The question was, you have two, so your motion contains both of your proposed changes, 13U,
Yeah.
land use 13.A and 13.B. I just want to make sure we understood that. Right, correct.
Yes.
Okay, and who seconded? Did you second, Councilor? Who seconded? Councilor Nelson?
I did, yeah.
Very good. Okay, Councilor Scheiderer?
Yeah, thank you. I'm just noticing that in the struck policy, WMP 2-9.3, it also calls for provide for non-motorized public access. And I'm just wondering if that could be added back in as well.
Deputy Mayor Itapos. Thank you, Councilman Schreider.
Yeah. Well, it says pedestrian access. I thought I had that.
In the
Wait, just a second. Let the Deputy Mayor has the floor right now.
Sorry, where could you just point to me where it is in the struck language?
Councilman Schreider. She had a question.
under discussion, yeah, 2-9.3, the fourth of the struck policies. It just says implement policies to restore and protect the habitat, forest, and water resources of the ravine and provide for non-motorized public access.
And thank you, Councilman Schreider, Deputy Mayor.
And if it's non-motorized, I'm just wondering how it's not addressed in shall maintain pedestrian connectivity to the ferry terminal, waterfront, adjoining parcels and neighborhoods. If you could work it in, I don't think I have a problem, but
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hatopoulos. Councilman Matthews.
Thanks, Mayor. I was just wondering why this was struck, and then thinking of Erickson and the new HRB building, if that fits into the historical features of Erickson Avenue, and also the mention of design review with the state's limitations of that program now, if that might have fed into that. I'm comfortable with everything except for the design review.
Okay, Councilman Matthews finished?
while we're waiting for staff.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, while waiting for staff, I mean, like so many things that we were all moving. This says shall seek to. It shall seek to preserve the unique and historical features of the Erickson Avenue neighborhood. That is aspirational language. It doesn't bind anyone. And obviously, if it's determined that someone wants to do X and it's not going to be compliant with state changes to design review, then it won't happen. But this is to memorialize the commitment to trying to preserve what's special about neighborhoods. So we don't just wind up with one big same modern neighborhood downtown.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. And before we go to that, Councilmember Schreider, staff, please. Thank you. It is.
Am I being, oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
I just wanted to answer the question real quick. It was duplicative in the open space. That's the reason why it was removed. And if I could offer a suggestion, I think to the question about pedestrian, I believe we're using the term multimodal and when we were doing the transportation, so that possibly could be a change as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Schreider, then Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Well, I was just going to suggest that in the policy being proposed, shall not degrade the natural character or ecological functions of the ravine and shall maintain pedestrian and multimodal access, connectivity. So just adding multimodal.
Wait. Councilman Schreider still has the floor. Thank you, Councilman Schreider. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
So we're talking about the ravine, and I'm just trying to show, it feels like does that mean we're adding the multimodal? I mean, that includes transit, right? I mean, I'm just trying to understand why multimodal. So let me do something else. What are we missing here with?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, Councilmember Lanth, and Councilmember Brenda Frownley.
So
Johnson.
it feels like this feels like we're looking at pedestrian, multimodal, perhaps active transportation. Like, what is the right definition of the thing? Is it active transportation? Is it multimodal? Does pedestrian fold into either of those? Because I'm on board with whatever the right word is.
Thank you, Councilmember Lanth.
Excuse me,
Sure.
in other places in the comp plan, we have moved to active transportation. So we could do that here too, if that's okay with Councilmember Schneider and the motion.
And that includes,
Yeah.
That includes people who are walking and rolling and a variety of different ways of getting from point A to point B.
For those who are watching home, we'll make a note that Councilmember Lanth was doing a little figure of a person walking. Councilmember Frownley Johnson.
I think what's important here is that access is maintained to the ferry, right? I don't care how you get there, whether it's, we need an all-encompassing term that will account for people walking or people biking. And that used to be multimodal, but now you're saying it's active transportation? Okay, as long as we all understand the definition is for, we're not talking about buses. Right.
Thank you, Councilmember Frownley Johnson, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Real quick, it's more than ferry. I mean, it's connectivity to the ferry terminal, waterfront, adjoining parcels and neighborhoods. And the reason that's important is the permeability of that, rather than somebody building up a structure where they're inhibiting that ability. So that's important. Could we say like pedestrian and other active transport, whatever that was called, active? I will say I feel a little weird as though we're trying to we're talking about the ecological functions too, but sure, why not?
Okay.
So it would be in addition to after pedestrian and other active transportation access or connectivity. So other forms of active, whatever.
So Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Is that
Deputy,
okay?
you still have the floor, Deputy Mayor.
If you're asking for my.
Back to Councilmember Schreider.
Yes, that's fine. Just adding active transportation in there. There's just the permeability, as you say, is incredibly important. And we're not differentiating between, walking and somebody riding a scooter or something like that. But basically it's, not a big vehicle with big vehicle standards of needs.
Thank you, Councilman Schreider. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos. Your mic's up.
Oh, that's fine.
Very good. Any further discussion? Call for the question on this motion. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Vote is 6-0. The chair votes aye. Passes 7-0. Councilmember Nelson, do you have motions to consider?
Yes. Hold on one sec. So go to page 2, policy LU 3.c. And I move to strike policy LU 3.c.
Councilmember Nelson made his motion. Is there a second?
Maybe if we could put up the.
Oh, you can't speak to anything. Wait for, if you could turn off your mic. Thank you.
Mayor?
Wait,
Would you like me to
Yeah.
read the motion
Yeah,
that he is
please.
offering to strike? Policy LU 3.c, require a minimum floor area ratio in the mixed use zones of Winslow. Consider requiring a minimum density in the R8 and R14 zones of Winslow. Is that correct, Councilmember Nelson? I got the right one.
Correct.
That motion is sitting. Councilmember Schreiber, or
Has it been seconded?
no, it has not. So I'm waiting. I'm going to call this without a second. This is not passed. Do not do this for discussion. I am not going to allow that in this meeting anymore. So please don't do that. We had a motion sitting, no one seconded. It is done. It did not. So we're going to move on to Councilmember Schreiber.
Well, I actually seconded as you were speaking to second. I mean, the timeline for seconds is pretty tight. So I said it. I seconded it. But
Okay,
is
just as I was going to close it, but anyway, there is a second discussion. Councilmember Schreiber.
I think there's a lot of good logic for having minimum density. And I don't have all the information in front of me right now, but in a downtown area where you want to pull your density in, there's a loss if something goes to a single family home and you've now lost that, property forever to a very, wealthy resident. So not having had time to consider it, I would not support it at this time.
Thank you, Councilmember Schreiber, Councilmember Nelson, then Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I just think that, property owners should be able to do with their land what they want. And I'm going to also note that this is also for the R8 and R14 zones. So it's not just the Winslow Town Center. So I just don't think we should have minimum density.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Yeah, I can't support the motion because although, again, I don't think we have the capacity for a lot of development that's being created from a policy perspective, I certainly agree that when you're trying to infill and develop them properly and pull your growth inward, some level of minimum needs to be required. And I think we've seen instances, I can think of one that I'm pretty sure I'm aware of, where somebody built a single family home in a kind of inappropriate area, along the lines of whatever I think Councilmember Schneider was saying. So what I like about it, that makes it easier for me to say, no, leave it, is it doesn't say what that is yet, but it embraces the fact that we do need to have minimum density inside our urban area.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, Councilmember Land.
I just want to say I appreciate the option for discussion, even if I do or don't support this motion. I think for the public, it's great to have the conversation, and I understand it's 10 minutes to 9 and it's a long day, but I think these conversations are important. So I appreciate the ability to do that. Thank you.
For discussion, call for the question. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Yay.
The vote is 2 yay, 4 nay. The chair votes aye. Nay, so that is 5-2. The only yay votes or nay votes, yay votes were Councilmember Land and Councilmember Nelson. So we're working back to the other end of the dais. Councilmember Schreiber, do you have a further motion to consider? Councilmember Land.
All right, thank you so much. So this is page 4, policy LU 8.d. The policy says, consider whether, this is a new policy, and I don't know who put it in here. It says, consider whether a public parking facility is necessary near the Winslow Way retail area or Washington State Ferry Terminal. So what does that mean? My motion is to delete this proposed policy that's in here because I don't understand what it means. I do absolutely believe that we need parking somewhere, whether we have a 0.5 or a 1 point or whatever, but this policy is it's a little broad. So my motion is to delete policy LU 8.D.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor, and Councilmember Schreider, was that a second? Okay. Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is this policy getting at the idea of potentially considering, like a parking garage? I'm just trying to understand what the policy is for. Maybe that's a question for staff.
Was that a question for whom, Councilmember Nelson?
Yeah, maybe a question for staff of what the purpose of the policy is.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson. Councilmember Franklin Johnson, then Deputy Mayor Hitopoulos.
I think the way I'm reading that is, yes, it says parking facility, and it's consider whether one is necessary. I think we should consider whether one is necessary. So I support this policy.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Franklin Johnson, Deputy Mayor Hitopoulos, and Councilmember Lant.
Yeah, same. And I think that you could look at any number. First of all, it may never happen. It could look all kinds of ways. We've talked before about what was mentioned at public comment, where maybe it's incorporated with housing. And I don't have a problem with it. I think keeps the conversation open.
Councilmember Lant.
Thank you. I just think it's, I think this is kind of funny, is that you all read it one way and I read it completely different. Consider open-ended. We actually have parking at the ferry terminal. We have parking in Winslow. And this just says, consider whether parking is necessary near Winslow. That is how I read this. So, I mean, this is my lived experience. That's how I read it. So perhaps we can change the language to state, consider whether a parking facility is required in Winslow versus parking in general. Do we need it? That makes no sense to me. And if you're only here for this conversation for the last 6 months, I think that we would all look at it this way. If you've been here for 4 years or 6 years or 8 years, you've got a background in perhaps a parking garage conversation. I'm sorry, did you want to say something?
Well, wait, no crosstalk. Councilmember Lant, do not challenge another council member. That is inappropriate.
Yeah, you were talking about me.
Councilmember.
So my motion is still on the floor, which is to delete this policy or update the language so it's much more clear.
Thank you, Councilmember Lant. What the order was who, Councilmember Schneider, then Councilmember Franklin Johnson, then Councilmember Nelson. Was that the order?
Snyder.
No, she was just recent.
Okay.
So I'll just go with that. Councilmember Schneider and Councilmember Franklin Johnson, Councilmember Nelson, and the Deputy Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So I think if we, the council, or we, the community, wants to consider a parking garage, we can just say that. We don't need it in the comp plan. When I was first on council in 2018, there was a subcommittee that was looking at a parking garage. So we've been there before and we could go there again. I don't think it needs to be in the comp plan.
Thank you, Councilmember Schneider, Councilmember Franklin Johnson, then Councilmember Nelson.
I'm just trying to understand why we would strike it when the wording to me is clear. It says a public parking facility. And when I read that, it says, consider whether a public parking facility is necessary near these two areas that, require a lot of parking. And maybe there's an opportunity somewhere in our future in this 10-year plan that maybe we might build a public parking facility. Public parking facilities, we don't have really any on this island. There may be one coming soon. I'm not sure if the senior centers is public or not, but it is something to think about. And yes, we've talked about it before, but you're right. Everybody might not be aware of that discussion. I really like it here where it is because it keeps it front and center that we need to continue considering it. Whether or not we ever do it, it's there. It's there for us.
Thank you, Councilmember Franklin Johnson, Councilmember Nelson, and Deputy Mayor Hitopoulos.
Yeah, I agree with Councilmember Fontroy Johnson. I mean, I read this, it says facility, and so I think it's pretty clear at this point that this is essentially referring to the possibility of a parking garage. And I don't think it's a secret that I'm concerned about parking downtown, especially with the proposed reductions in parking. So I think this should stay in here. And I do think that this is an appropriate place for it, because it's very common that we put things in here and then later on we consider it by ordinance or what have you. So I'm going to oppose the motion because I think this is going to stay in there.
Thank you, Councilor Nelson. Councilmember Long.
I'd like to amend my motion, so not to delete the policy, but amend the policy to state, consider whether a public parking facility should be constructed near the Winslow Way retail area or Washington State Ferry Terminal.
I second.
Suggested motion amendment.
I second.
Mike's on. We get echo here all the time. So I hear that your suggestion to strike is necessary input for construction. Exactly what was your language?
Yes.
Councilmember Land? Okay. And I saw Councilmember Nelson stepped in and said second. Okay. Council discussion. So you have, Councilmember Land has rescinded the removal and just added a new amendment to the current policy. Thank you. Any discussion on that? Okay, I'll call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I see 2 yay and 4 nay, and the chair votes nay. So it is 5-2 with Councilmembers Lanton and Councilmembers Nelson voting in the affirmative. Okay, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, you're next if you have another motion.
Okay, so this is related to the expansion back out of ways to achieve bonus FAR. So in order to, this is page 5, and it would be deleting some of the bases for bonus FAR in LU 8F. And I've got the language here. It would I would move to delete providing public open space that is visibly accessible to the public with adequate access from a public corridor, contributing toward or providing public amenities above and beyond what is required to mitigate the impacts of the project itself that serves the community, enhance the livability and vitality of Winslow. Public amenities may include, but are not limited to, pedestrian connections, on-site places for public gathering, streetscape improvements, public art, and other public benefits as determined by the city, preserving exceptional and or legacy trees or trees within designated greenways, providing smaller units, utilizing green building and low impact development techniques.
Second.
Motion from Deputy Mayor. Councilmember Nelson, there was a second. Okay. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
So for discussion, as I've got input in front of council, what this would leave as a basis for bonus FAR would be preserving open space, agricultural land in critical areas through participation in a TDR program, preserving historic structures, providing affordable housing, creation of permanent open space on parcels that contain critical areas by transferring development rights within the town center, and reallocating existing service commuter parking to underbuilding in the ferry terminal district. I don't expect it to pass. It seems that the council is getting an appetite for going back to the bonus FAR of the years past. I will only say, from having watched that myself in the past, we wound up oftentimes with market rate house development projects sort of providing or not providing benefits that disappeared. We do not have a history of tracking them. And what we wind up with is larger structures that the community doesn't like, and we didn't even get the trade-offs. And I feel like the community, by and large, feels that affordable housing is a good basis for doing this, but not these other gives, and that there are other ways that we can get these gives, and that's how we should be doing it. So.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of the motion? Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. It has 4 yeas and the chair votes nay. So Council, myself, Mayor, Deputy Councilmembers Matthews and Fountain Johnson are dissenting. Councilmember Nelson, you're next for motions.
Yeah, can we bring up page 4, policy LU 8.b? I move to strike policy LU 8.b, and I could read it out. Hold on a sec. Okay, the policy provides reduce or eliminate parking minimums in downtown mixed-use zones within accessible district of distance of transit. Consider parking maximums.
Councilor Nelson has made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilmember Land has seconded. Any discussion? Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos and Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, I mean, I support this motion. I think that we are not Seattle when it comes to transit. If we were, this would be a no-brainer. We do not have the transit available for many of the issues related to this. And so I don't find it a compelling reason to make exception to reduce maximums in vicinity of transit.
Councilor Nelson and Councilmember Scheider.
Yeah, and it's no secret that I oppose the reduction in parking. I may support such a policy if we had that parking garage, but right now I do not support this, and I'm hoping to strike it.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson. Councilmember Scheider.
Thank you, Mayor. So no, I don't support it. There is a few bits of compelling pro-parking out there already, which is that developers are going to decide how much the market is going to bear in terms of how much parking. And even beyond what a developer would want, it's often the case that the financing organization is going to require it. So I think that in most cases, the parking minimums, I don't know, the trend right now is to drop parking minimums because there are a lot of other forces in play that create parking when it's needed.
Thank you, Councilor Scheider. Councilmember Land.
Thank you. Yeah, I do support this. I thought it was very interesting when we had public comment earlier by Dave Soderstrom about something that Bill Isley has brought up several times, which is a parking garage in the gravel lot with affordable housing on top. And wouldn't that be a perfect little scenario? I would totally support that. But on the flip side, pushing parking to private lots and then telling private property owners that it's their problem, that they need to police and enforce their own lots because we are willfully telling public parking that they don't have there's no requirement to provide it. I don't think that is very business friendly, and I don't think that's how we should be treating our local businesses.
And for discussion for the committee, council time check, we have about 11 minutes left in this allocation of this hour. So let's keep that in check. We can always extend. Any further discussion on this motion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We have 3 ayes. All those opposed? It is 3 yeas, 3 nays. The chair votes nay. The motion fails. With the yes votes, Councilmember Lant, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos, and Councilmember Nelson. Councilmember Lant, do you have further motions?
Thank you. Yes, this should be a quick one. This is page 6, policy LU 9.b. This is just an addition to an existing policy. The policy reads, ensure the area near the ferry terminal is a welcoming gateway to Bainbridge Island, including public space, art, and signage that fosters inclusivity and diversity. I would like to also add wayfinding and informational signage incorporated in there.
So there's a motion.
Second it.
And seconded by Councilmember Francois Johnson. Councilmember Francois Johnson.
Okay, it says signage, so are you adding as wayfair finding?
Councilmember Lamb.
Yes, wayfinding and informational signage, and signage that fosters inclusivity and diversity. So that's where
I see.
Okay. Councilmember Francois Johnson. Okay, yeah. Any further discussion? Seeing none, call for the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I have 6 yea And the chair votes aye, 7-0, passes unanimously. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Yeah, I'm not going to read this whole motion, hopefully, because I've provided to the clerk, we can put it up. You'll see why. It's page 5, motion. In order to, this goes to the concept of what is FAR, what is the public, does the public understand it? How do we explain it? There's an entire, very long section that was removed that discusses what floor area ratio is. I thought it was very well written. It gives examples, and it's all gone now. And so I think that it is, for transparency and information for the public to understand what we're talking about with FAR, it should be reinstituted. So in order to ensure public understanding of floor area ratio as a zoning mechanism, I move to restore the following language formally under goal WMP 25 as a new discussion section immediately preceding LU 8E. And I guess I have to ask the clerk or maybe the attorney, do I need to read this entire motion into the record if it's been provided in writing and the council has it?
They have it up.
And it's up.
Council.
That's the excellent question. I'm kind of looking towards the
I could
city clerk. So is this what we're seeing on the screen? Is this part of the record, I suppose, is my question?
It's a reinsertion, by the way, of something that existed.
I understood,
It's
but
not, yeah.
I'm just trying to understand from a public transparency point,
Yeah,
is this
it
part of
is in the agenda packet.
Okay, it is an agenda pack. Okay, then that should be fine.
That helps. Aren't you glad I did that?
Second.
Yeah, you did, right. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
And I could
Okay.
maybe,
Yeah, go ahead.
I could actually say starting and ending to capture
That's
this
very
if it's
typical.
needed. Yeah. So this section just to be clear, the motion starts with discussion. Floor area ratio refers to a figure that expresses the total allowable floor area. And I'm suggesting we pull all that back in, down the original language, back down to ending with each development would be a unique blend of uses and unit sizes.
And that is a second from Councilmember Franklin Johnson.
Can I
Yes,
ask,
Councilmember Franklin Johnson.
can I ask why it was removed?
Yes, staff will provide information on that.
What we're waiting for that is very typical legislative maneuver. If you've ever been in a legislature, they call a bill and someone says last line, and that means that the rent has been read in full. So that's good practice.
Good evening, Council. Jennifer Sutton, Senior Planner. Sure. Current goal WMP 2-5. It was proposed to be removed kind of for a few reasons. One, since I don't recall whether this goal was added during the 2006 update to the Winslow Sub-Area Plan, or if it has been there since the Winslow Sub-Area Plan was originally created in the late 90s. In 2012, the city reorganized our development code, and we now have a rules of measurement section 1812050, where we specifically define floor area ratio, lot area, kind of all of the terminology that would regulate how we would apply floor area ratio. And since we've been using floor area ratio for more than 20 years now in these Winslow mixed-use districts, it just seemed a little duplicative to what we have in other parts of the code, and it no longer new. The other, estimates for how much FAR producing a range of unit sizes, that I don't know how, I mean, it was at least in 2006, maybe earlier, that estimate was drafted by someone. And so I don't know how accurate or relevant that range still is. It may be accurate, but I don't know.
Councilor John, you still on the floor.
Thank you. So, if we put this back in, can we get it updated so it shows the correct FAR? Because I don't want to vote for something where the FAR is not correct, but I do feel like it should be in there.
Well, this goal, it kind of describes how you figure out FAR and why we're using it in the mixed use districts, and then it gives an example of the math. the FAR that is kind of in the second half of the goal that is equating, as an example, 0.4 FAR to 8 to 20 units per acre. We don't know if that's accurate because FAR is flexible.
But it's an example.
Correct.
So would, I guess maybe we could say, make sure we understand that it's an example, but I want it to be as accurate as possible, even in an example, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think including the math in the top paragraph could be really helpful, but even using, the 25,000 square feet as an example, one of the benefits of FAR is that it allows a mix of sizes. So, 25,000 square feet could be 25 1,000 square foot units or 50 500 square foot units or kind of a mix, right? And so, we wouldn't want someone to come in proposing all studios, which would then generate a higher number of units for the same amount of FAR compared to a moderate size units. And then, then we'd have to have discussion about whether the project would be in compliance with the comprehensive plan. So, and these are just examples, actually. We don't even have, I don't even think our existing code has a 0.8 FAR as the standard in any of the zones. So
I guess then my question is, you mentioned that in the other code, there was language. Can we use the same language that's in the other code or?
Sure, we could bring over the current text from the rules of measurement section and insert it here as new language.
Thank you, Councilmember Brownell Johnson. Deputy Mayor Hatopoulos, followed by Councilmember Scheidler.
So a few things. One thing is that this is, I thought, a really great plain language explanation. So there's that. And I don't know what that was going to look like in the code. I would assume it's not plain language in the code. I certainly don't want people to have to go figure out that they need to go find in the code what FAR is. And the Winslow Sub-Area Plan talks about FAR. This is a transparent way to help people understand it. Of course, there's going to be ranges. That's what this is showing, that there are ranges. This doesn't mean we have to have 0.4, 0.8, or 1.5. It's helping people understand that how you would look at this. So if the last thing I'd say is where I thought Councilmember Fantroy Johnson was going like, sure, let's put this back and then let's ask staff to if staff thinks that these numbers should be populated different, go ahead and do it. And the idea that we have no idea what the ranges this would generate, that kind of defies the whole, land capacity analysis question. Some assumptions are being made, right? But that's how we got these numbers. We got numbers because assumptions are being made that if you use one FAR, 3 FAR, here are the units that are being generated. So we could simply ask to have whatever range was put into whatever the land capacity analysis found. I have no problem with an amendment to my motion being those could be populated with the numbers we are using in this planning right now.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilmember Scheidler, and then Councilmember Brownell Johnson.
Thank you, Mayor. I remember seeing the measures, the definition of measures. So was that in the information that got pulled, the regulations that got pulled? Because I remember seeing it like today, yesterday.
Question directed to.
So yes, if Jennifer could remind me where I saw them, and I guess I would agree with Deputy Mayor Hatopoulos. If it's in regulations, then it seems like it would be a good idea to bring it up into the comp plan, with some updates.
Let me just, excuse me, let me just grab the draft of Title 18 changes that are in the ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Scheidler. Councilmember Brownell Johnson. Oh, she's waiting. That conversation is finished.
Yeah.
Oh, she's coming. Thank you.
Okay. The rules of measurement section, which is section 18.12.050. We are not proposing any amendments to that section at this time. We may have described FAR in the draft Winslow Slub Area Plan somewhere. It might be in the existing conditions section of the draft sub-area plan. But as of right now, we had not proposed to either modify how it's defined or to specifically define it in the comprehensive plan. But you know, we can add more specificity if the council would like to do that. I think the hesitation about including the range of unit sizes estimate for, let's say for 0.04, it says would produce 8 to 20 units per acre. I mean, that it's just so project specific, right? And it really depends on, you know, the shape and size and topography of location of a property. So it might produce that, it might not. And that's what FAR allows you to be flexible with unit sizes to hopefully produce a mix of unit sizes. That's one of the benefits. But and just to answer Councilmember Hytopoulos' question, in the land capacity analysis, we used an average unit size to estimate, to translate square feet of development into estimated units, and that average size was 850 square feet.
Thank you, Councilor Schreier. We ran out of time 2 minutes ago. I added 10 minutes. So now with the council's agreement, we have 8 more minutes left for this talk. It was Councilor Frontway next in line, and then Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
So I don't know if we just need to do the same thing, right? Get an average size space and then give some ranges of how much FAR can go in that space. Add a little disclaimer. These are examples of FAR that's possible. But at least the language there gives regular people a chance to understand what we're talking about up here. And that's what I think is Councilmember Hytopoulos's goal, is to have a way for the average people. I mean, I'm the average people, for me to understand what the heck FAR is all about.
Thank you, Councilman Frontway Johnson. I consider you far above average. And Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
So I'm looking at 18-12-050. There is maybe one sentence about floor area ratio. It's nothing like this. So it's G of A through M, A through R, of definitions basically about this area, this topic. And so floor area ratio, maybe there's 4 sentences. Floor area ratio is a figure that expresses the total floor area number is a multiple of the lot area. The figure is determined by dividing the floor area of all buildings on a lot by the lot prior to the removal of lot area for dedication. I mean, this is not plain language. It's very short. It's an apple and an orange. I would be both open to staff giving us a range that they think is based on this size versus this size, changing that section to just say that using an average, unit size of, and I think we should stick with what we've been doing in the land capacity analysis. Then there's consistency. It's like we're actually all looking at the same thing, and then just give us the units per acre for that. And then then we really are all talking the same language. I'm totally open to that, and that should be pretty easy to get to. If staff felt more comfortable with saying 1 FAR, 3 FAR, 4 FAR, because we've got those. Tell us what those are. I just want to see all that other great language and then something that helps the public translate that into numbers like that. So
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos. Councilmember Brown. Her light went down. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
So what I would suggest is we pass the motion to say, reinsert this, and we give staff the flexibility of replacing that section if there's time and willingness to adapt it to the average unit that's being assumed in the land capacity analysis or a range. But I'm assuming it would be the former.
Your second to that amended motion.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember Schreier. It's been moved and seconded for the discussion. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Vote is 6-0. Chair votes aye. Passes 7-0. Councilmember Nelson, do you have none?
Yes, and I'm going to save council time by not making the rest of my parking motions. I think I know the direction those would go. I'm going to prioritize one motion, which is page 8, policy LU 12.c. And I move to revise policy LU 12.c to strike permit at the beginning and add in its place consider permitting. So policy LU 12.c, strike permit, the first word, and insert consider permitting. And if you go to my motions, you can see the sort of red line.
Thank you, Councilmember. Second to Councilmember Nelson's motion.
Second.
Motion's on the floor, Councilmember Nelson.
Yeah, and so I'm strongly in favor of the civic and cultural connection overlay. But the purpose of my motion is just that we need to be, I think, cautious and thoughtful about allowing additional building height. I think there's a pretty arduous process where the comp plan, the planning commission really settled on a max building height of 5 stories. And I think there was a lot of community pushback when 6 stories was previously considered. And so I think having such an affirmative policy in here that we will permit building heights above the max 5 stories, I think we really should soften that to say consider permitting. And that's the purpose of my motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Nelson. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Yeah, I mean, I would want to see minimally a conditional use permit or some sort of process rather than outright. This is when you combine this with, again, the bonus FAR that the council's going to allow, this is where you get into situations where all of a sudden something happens that nobody understands where this came from. So all of a sudden it's another story higher than anybody would have expected. And we've got all these lot coverage issues. We've got to retain some level of control at the development review standard of like, hey, does this work, and not outright permit it. I don't see any reason to permit it, but I think it's reasonable to consider it depending on what does it actually look like. Is this really useful? Open green space, pedestrian permeability and whatever. So I would support it.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councilor Matthews.
Thanks, Mayor. So I get why Councilmember Nelson, I get where he's coming from. I think permit is fine here. I don't think we need to change it. I think even though it's written here like this, projects still have to go through land use, through planning commission, this isn't just saying you can just build 6 stories. This is something, or 5 stories. This was the work they already did to get to this point. So I don't see any need to change it.
Thank you, Councilmember Matthews. Any further discussion? I can call for the question. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We have 3 yay, 3 nay, and the chair votes nay. So it passes 4-3 with Councilmember Fernando Johnson, Councilmember Matthews, and myself in dissent. Okay, just a quick check-in. I got a minute 30. So
point of order. Apologies. Did that motion pass or did it fail?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. It passed 4-3. There were only 3 nay votes. Thank you. Now we got a minute left. And how many motions do we have left, members? Councilmember Nelson, you have any further motions?
Yeah, I have, I think, 2 more.
Okay, I will add an additional. Yeah, you're not using up to the whole 10 minutes, but let's go another 10 minutes, please.
Can I have a suggestion, Mayor?
Yeah.
Why don't each person just read their remaining motions? So let's not bounce back and forth. Just Councilmember Nelson, read your last 2. Councilmember or Deputy Mayor, read your last 2. Councilmember Lant, read your last, and let's just go.
We just go through. Yeah. Okay. Right. We'll just go. Councilmember Nelson has a chance, so it's Councilmember Lant, then Deputy Mayor Hatopoulos, and then Councilmember Nelson.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm just going to jump down. I've got a couple, but I'm just going to focus on the one and be done with it. This is page 6. This is policy LU 10.d. And I'm making a motion to change policy LU 10.d to add something at the very end. So it currently reads, foster a variety of housing types in residential and mixed-use areas which accommodate diverse needs and demographics, welcome new residents, and supply housing for generations to come, including options for both renting and home ownership, period. Oh, and housing, pardon me, that was incorrect. Home ownership and housing that is accessible and adaptable.
Second.
Oh, you know what? This is the thing that I was going to remove. I apologize. Please strike that. That was a time waste, Mayor. Before you say it, I'll say it right there. Let's go to WSP goal OS 6. And this is page 14.
All right.
And this is a motion to change WSP goal OS 6 to coordinate with Bainbridge Island Metro Park and Recreation District and other nonprofits, that's my addition, to preserve and expand the park and open space network to strengthen livability as growth expands.
Second.
Councilmember Lant has a motion forward, seconded by Councilmember Nelson. Discussion, any lights on? Give you a moment to think it over. Okay, I think there's no further discussion. I'll call for the question on this. Councilmember Lant's motion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 6-0, the chair votes aye, 7-0. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I'm cutting one in the interest of time, so this is my last one. It's on page 2, and I hope it's just a feel-good thing. It is to restore some language to what was WMP 222. It now reads, just periodically review the city's adopted design standards to ensure the standards support planned development outcomes, period. I'm asking to add back in, while remaining sensitive to the individual character of each district and sub-area within the Winslow Town Center.
Second.
Motion by the Deputy Mayor, second by Councilmember Nelson. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
And I just want to say, again, this isn't going to affect anything if it can't affect it, right? If design review board wants to do something that it thinks is, consistent with a certain zone and it's not something can be done, it won't be done, but it is the values that we're saying that we want the Winslow developed, even as we change the dimensional standards, et cetera.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I'm not seeing any heavy debate here. I'll call for the question on the Deputy Mayor's motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We have 5 yeas, 1 nay, and the chair votes aye at 6-1 with the 1 dissenter, Councilmember Fallon Johnson. Councilmember Nelson, you have a motion?
Yes, let's go to page 5, policy LU 8.E. And it might be easier just to show what I included in the packet because I have the red line in there. So page 5, policy LU 8.E. I move to strike particularly and add including water, sewer, and transportation. So the policy would read, maintain base floor area ratio for each of the 4 mixed-use districts in the Winslow Town Center and consider FAR increases in coordination with a study of the necessary infrastructure, including water, sewer, and transportation. So all I'm doing is adding in water and sewer in addition to transportation when we're talking about infrastructure.
Thank you, Councilman Nelson, is seconded by the Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos. Any discussion? See no lights come on, I'm going to call the question. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I see four yay and 2 nay, and the chair votes yay. So it'll be 5-2 with dissent from Councilmember Fowler Johnson and Councilmember Matthews. Thank you. Any further motions? Deputy Mayor? Councilmember Nelson?
I have one more, and it's policy LU 8.g, also on page 5. It's essentially the same motion I just made, just to a different policy. And so I move to revise policy LU 8.g to strike particularly and add including water, sewer, and in its place. And so you can see it down there. Again, I'm just calling out the infrastructure includes water, sewer, and transportation, not just transportation.
Motion from Councilor Nelson. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos seconds. Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
Just one line, that is that this is what the GMA tells us to do. That's all it says. So of course, yes.
Okay. Again, see no further discussion. I'll call for the question on Councilmember Nelson's motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So I have 4 yeas. The chair votes yea. Dissenting votes from Councilmember Fowler Johnson and Councilmember Matthews. Any further motions? Well, my final one, I move on and the Windows sub-area plan description on page 6, the beginning existing conditions, history, region. In the final paragraph, I move to replace the word internment with incarceration and interred with incarcerated. And I've caught another on page 6, policy LU 10A. I also move to remove the word internment and replace it with incarceration. Your second? In discussion? I'll just say that this is important because these are euphemisms and the government uses euphemisms and gaslights us. And if we wanted to be historically accurate of what the government was using, we would have to call these places relocation centers. Talked about gaslighting. Anyway, thank you for the support. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Vote 6-0. Chair votes aye, 7-0. That concludes motions on this 6B, consider Winslow sub-area plan ordinance number 2026. I'd entertain a motion to move this forward to another meeting. Councilmember Fowler Johnson moves, and I heard Councilmember Matthews second.
Sure.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't mean to twist your arm there. That's just okay. Okay, the motion is moved to move this forward. Any further discussion? Right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
It's 5-1, and the chair votes aye, so it's 6-1 with Councilmember Nelson dissenting. Okay, let's go to item 7, communications. Council. Councilmember Scheider.
Thank you, Mayor. So on Saturday, we had a fun gathering down by the bus barn to cut the ribbon on the, let me see if I can get this right. The hop on, hop off downtown free Saturday shuttle. I'm sure that's not exactly as written, but good enough, right? And then we all rode the shuttle and I got my plushie. So anyway, keep an eye out for the bus number 385 on Saturdays. We definitely want to get ridership up, and if we can get it up, then we will be able to potentially be able to extend this.
Thank you, Councilmember Scheider. Councilmember Lamb.
Hi, just a quick note that there was a really interesting meeting of the PRTPO, that's the Peninsula Regional Transportation, blah, blah. And there was a presentation by a group called Long Live the Kings, which is not a political movement. It's about fish.
Mm-hmm.
And they were discussing the Hood Canal Bridge and future bridge replacements and or renovations. And the discussion was really interesting surrounding how fish, young fish especially, get caught in the eddies around the base of the floating bridge where it hits into the bottom of the ocean floor. And when they are moving around trying to get through under the bridge, they get caught, and the seals, which are protected, scoop them up and eat them. And there is a giant decrease in small fish because of this. And because seals are protected, there's not a lot that can be done. But they're considering this problem as they consider new bridge design that will be happening at some point. But it was pretty interesting conversation.
Thank you, Councilmember Lant. Councilmember Brantley Johnson.
Last week we had a great Juneteenth celebration, and everybody was there. Who was anybody? And it was great. Great speakers and great music and great food. And I know, I won't say, I'll let you say what happened over in Bremerton. So yeah, it was great, and I hope we can do it again next year.
That's great, Councilmember. Councilmember Matthews.
Yes, so Juneteenth was a wonderful event. Councilmember Schneider's Lant and I also had a really cool meeting with the Puget Sound Clean Air Agency. So more to come on that. And I have my Growth Management Policy Board meeting this Thursday, and can't wait to say how close Bainbridge Island is getting to adopting our comprehensive plan. So that will be great news, I think, for last. So I'm really excited about that. And we head to AWC next week for many of us are going to Spokane, which will be also really great to see. So yeah, lots of good stuff going on. And don't forget, tomorrow is our city manager candidate open house for our 2 candidates here at City Hall at 5:30.
Correct. Yeah, and on that, thank you, Councilor Matthews. And on that, I believe you and I and Councilmember Scheiderer and Deputy Mayor, we're going to try to get to the late flight, so let's keep that meeting very concise. Oh, Councilor Chan, we're going to be on the late flight, so let's keep that meeting very brief. All right, very good. I had the pleasure and honor to present our presentation at the Juneteenth celebration in Bremerton, which is always a really cool event and a lot of heart. And the pastors lead it off, and just gets better from there. Really love that. And many of us were at the Helpline House ribbon cutting. Councilor Matthews and Councilmember Lant and Councilmember Scheiderer. And this is an astonishing facility. It says so much about our community. And when people drive by and they see that name and they go, what is that? And they learn it's a place of free food and services and support. And the beauty of the structure, it says so much about how our community values that. So I just applaud them. And they got it on time and on budget, which is good. I like that happen. And I met with the senior center staff or board last week. Okay, Deputy Mayor Hytopoulos.
I had a request. I don't want to put the city manager on the spot. I had a request from a community member to understand when and where the outreach meeting that we may be having about cameras, must be cameras, is happening. They thought it's like the next week, and they say it's hard to find. Do you know anything about that? Is that correct?
I can definitely get and post more information on that. I understood from the council that we wanted to make sure that we were deliberate and fulsome in our review. And so we are looking to make sure that we slowed it down a little bit, and we'll have ample time, including making sure that we may stretch this all the way into the fall so that people with school age children are able to participate.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Need some further discussion? Call the meeting adjourned.